What if dark-side Anakin encountered the Mortis gods? Let's explore the depths of it in this video. The father senses him before he lands. Something is wrong. Terribly, catastrophically wrong. The chosen one has arrived on Mortis. But the balance the father hoped to feel, it isn't there. Instead, he senses only darkness, cold, hungry, absolute. Anakin Skywalker steps from the wreckage of his crashed fighter. His eyes flicker yellow in the strange light of this realm between worlds. The dark side coils around him like a living thing. And when the father materializes before him, ancient and powerful and desperate with hope, that hope dies in a single heartbeat. No, the word escapes the father like a prayer denied. This cannot be. You were supposed to bring balance. You were the one. Anakin smiles. It's a cold expression, empty of warmth, filled with something predatory. I am the chosen one, just not the one you wanted. This changes everything. The father has waited millennia for this moment. The prophecy spoke of balance restored. Instead, he faces something far worse than imbalance. He faces the most powerful Force user in galactic history, fully consumed by darkness, standing in the one place where that power could reshape reality itself. And somewhere in the shadows of Mortis, the sun begins to laugh. He's been waiting for this too, waiting for someone strong enough to break his father's chains, waiting for an ally who could help him escape this prison and unleash the dark side across the galaxy. The game has changed. The chosen one has fallen. And now, 3 gods must decide what to do about the monster standing in their midst. But how did Anakin Skywalker fall so far? What darkness consumed the hero of the Republic and transformed him into this creature of shadow and rage? To understand what happens on Mortis, we must first understand the fall that brought him here. The temple halls are quiet in the aftermath of Ahsoka Tano's trial. The torches flicker against ancient stone walls as Anakin Skywalker walks alone through corridors he once considered home. His footsteps echo like accusations in the silence. The council chamber doors loom before him, closed now, but he can still hear their voices from hours ago. We find Ahsoka Tano not guilty. The words should bring relief. His Padawan is free, her name cleared of the bombing that killed so many. But Anakin feels nothing resembling peace. He feels only rage. They were ready to execute her. The thought burns through his mind like acid. The Jedi Council, the guardians of peace and justice, were prepared to hand Ahsoka over to the Republic military for a crime she didn't commit. They stripped her of her rank, cast her out of the Order, and turned their backs on her without a shred of real evidence. And when the truth came out, when Barriss Offee confessed to the bombing and revealed the rot at the heart of everything, what did the Council do? They offered Ahsoka a place back in the Order, as if nothing had happened, as if their betrayal could be erased with a few kind words and empty platitudes. Ahsoka refused. Anakin closes his eyes and sees her face again, sees the pain and disillusionment in her eyes as she walked away from everything she'd ever known. She looked at him before she left, and in that look was something that shattered whatever remained of his faith in the Jedi way. She didn't blame him. She understood that he'd fought for her, that he'd been the only one who never stopped believing in her innocence. But she couldn't stay. The Order had shown its true face, and she could no longer pretend it was something worth serving. Anakin reaches his quarters and steps inside, the door sliding shut behind him with a soft hiss. The room is sparse, as all Jedi quarters are meant to be. No attachments, no possessions, nothing to tie a Jedi to the material world. He used to find comfort in that simplicity. Now it feels like a prison cell. He moves to the window and stares out at the Coruscant skyline, the endless rivers of traffic flowing between towers that scrape the heavens. Somewhere out there, Ahsoka is starting a new life. Somewhere out there, Padme waits for him, carrying secrets they can never acknowledge. And somewhere in this very building, the Jedi Masters who betrayed his apprentice sleep peacefully, their consciences clear. How can they sleep? The question gnaws at him. How can Mace Windu close his eyes without seeing Ahsoka's face? How can Ki-Adi-Mundi meditate on the Force when he voted to cast out an innocent girl? How can any of them claim to serve the light when they were so eager to sacrifice one of their own? The anger builds in Anakin's chest, hot and familiar. He's felt it before, this fury that threatens to consume him. The Jedi teachings tell him to release it, to let it flow through him and dissipate into the Force. But tonight, he doesn't want to let it go. Tonight, he wants to hold on to it, to nurture it, to let it burn. His comlink chirps, breaking the silence. Anakin glances at it and sees a familiar frequency. The Chancellor. He hesitates for a moment, then answers, "Anakin, my boy." Palpatine's voice is warm, concerned, paternal in a way that the Jedi Masters never manage. "I heard about the trial. I wanted to see how you're holding up." Anakin's grip tightens on the device. They let her go. But she's not coming back. A pause on the other end, heavy with sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Anakin. I know how much she meant to you." The Jedi Council's handling of this situation was deeply troubling. To think they were ready to condemn an innocent child based on circumstantial evidence. It shakes one's faith in the institution itself. The words land exactly where they're meant to. Anakin feels them sink into the cracks that have been forming in his loyalty for years. The Chancellor understands. The Chancellor sees the truth that the Jedi refuse to acknowledge. "Perhaps we could meet tomorrow," Palpatine continues. "I have some thoughts on how to prevent such miscarriages of justice in the future. And I confess, I could use your counsel on several war matters. The Senate grows restless with the conflict's duration, and I find your perspective invaluable." Anakin nods, even though the Chancellor can't see him. "I'll be there." "Thank you, Chancellor." "Of course, my boy. Try to get some rest. These are difficult times, but I believe better days are ahead, for both of us." The connection ends, and Anakin is alone again with his thoughts. He doesn't sleep that night. Instead, he sits in meditation posture, reaching out to the Force, searching for guidance. But the light feels distant and cold, while something else whispers at the edges of his consciousness. Something warm and powerful, and utterly without judgment. He doesn't embrace it. Not yet. But he doesn't push it away either. The following weeks bring no relief to Anakin's turmoil. The Clone Wars rage on, consuming worlds and lives with mechanical efficiency. Anakin throws himself into battle after battle, leading his men against impossible odds, earning victory after victory. But each triumph feels hollow. He saves planets and liberates systems, yet the gratitude of the people he rescues barely registers. All he can see is the hypocrisy at the heart of everything. The Jedi preach compassion, but practice detachment. The Republic champions freedom, but wages war through an army of slaves. The Senate debates endlessly while soldiers die, and the Council meditates while the galaxy burns. His meetings with Chancellor Palpatine become more frequent. At first, they discuss the war, strategies and supply lines, and political maneuvering. But gradually, the conversations drift to deeper waters. Palpatine speaks of the Force in ways that Anakin has never heard before. He doesn't call it the dark side or the light side. He simply calls it power. a tool to be wielded by those with the wisdom and will to use it. The Jedi fear their emotions, Palpatine says one evening as they stand on his office balcony, watching the sun set over the Senate district. They teach that passion leads to suffering, that attachment breeds loss. But tell me, Anakin, has suppressing your feelings ever brought you peace? Anakin thinks of his mother, dying in his arms on Tatooine. He thinks of Padme, the love he must hide like a shameful secret. He thinks of Ahsoka, walking away because the order she served failed her when she needed them most. No, the word comes out rougher than he intended. It hasn't. Palpatine nods, his expression thoughtful. The ancient Sith understood something the Jedi never could. They knew that emotion is not weakness, but strength. Fear drives us to protect what we cherish. Anger gives us the power to destroy what threatens us. Love, true love, is the greatest motivator of all. The Jedi would have you believe these things lead to the dark side. But what if the dark side is simply another path to power? A path without arbitrary restrictions. A path that embraces what makes us truly alive. Anakin should recoil from these words. He should recognize them for what they are: the seduction of a Sith Lord, the manipulation of a master deceiver. But something in him resonates with the message. He's spent his entire life being told what he cannot do, what he cannot feel, what he cannot want. And where has it gotten him? A dead mother, a hidden wife, a lost apprentice, an order that doesn't trust him. Perhaps the Jedi way isn't the only way. Perhaps there's another path, one that leads not to suppression and denial, but to power and freedom. The first time Anakin touches the dark side consciously, he's on a mission in the Outer Rim. A separatist holdout has taken hostages, Republic citizens who will be executed if the droid army isn't given safe passage off-world. The Jedi Council wants to negotiate. They send Anakin and Obi-Wan to find a peaceful solution. But when they arrive, they find that the separatists have already begun the executions. 3 hostages lie dead in the courtyard, their bodies still warm. The droid commander stands among them, issuing demands through a vocabulator that mimics human speech without any of its warmth. Something snaps in Anakin. He's seen death before, more than any being should witness in 100 lifetimes. But something about this moment, the casual cruelty, the mechanical indifference, the knowledge that these people died while the council debated, pushes him over an edge he didn't know he was standing on. The Force flows through him, but it's not the calm, centered energy the Jedi cultivate. This is something raw, something that burns like fire in his veins. He raises his hand, and the droids around him crumple like paper in a hurricane. He doesn't deactivate them. He destroys them, tears them apart at the molecular level, turns them to slag and scrap with nothing but his rage. Obi-Wan calls his name, shock and fear in his voice, but Anakin barely hears him. He advances on the droid commander, his lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss that sounds different somehow, more aggressive, more hungry. The commander tries to raise its weapon, but Anakin is already there, his blade carving through its chest plate like it's made of air. The droid falls, sparking and twitching, and Anakin stands over it, breathing hard, his eyes reflecting the flames that have begun to consume the compound. The remaining hostages are saved. The mission is technically a success. But when Obi-Wan looks at Anakin on the journey home, there's something new in his expression. Concern, yes, but also something that might be fear. Anakin, what happened back there? I felt you in the Force. That power you channeled, it was what was necessary. Anakin's voice is flat, emotionless. They were killing innocents, Obi-Wan. While we were supposed to negotiate, They were murdering people. I stopped them. The methods matter, Anakin. The Jedi way teaches us to defend life without surrendering to our baser impulses. What you did, how you did it, that wasn't the light side of the Force. Anakin turns to look at his former master, and for a moment, Obi-Wan sees something in those blue eyes that he doesn't recognize. Maybe the light side isn't enough anymore. They don't speak of it again, but the distance between them grows. Obi-Wan reports his concerns to the Council in private, and though no official action is taken, Anakin notices the change in how they look at him. More suspicion, more distrust, more of the same treatment they've given him since he was a boy who didn't fit their mold. It should bother him. Instead, it feels like confirmation. They were never going to accept him. They were always going to see him as a threat, an anomaly, a mistake that Qui-Gon Jinn forced them to tolerate. Well, if they want to see him as a threat, perhaps it's time he became one. The transformation accelerates after that. Anakin begins meeting with Palpatine almost daily, drinking in the Chancellor's wisdom like a man dying of thirst. He learns techniques the Jedi would never teach, ways of touching the Force that amplify his already prodigious power tenfold. He learns to channel his anger, his fear, his love into strength, instead of suppressing them into numbness. He learns that the dark side isn't evil, not really. It's simply honest. It acknowledges the truth of existence that the Jedi are too afraid to face. Padme notices the change first. She comes to him one night, concern written across her beautiful face, and asks him what's wrong. He tries to explain, tries to make her understand that he's becoming something better, something stronger, something that can actually protect her from the dangers of the galaxy. But the words come out wrong, and he sees fear flicker in her eyes. Anakin, you're scaring me. The things you're saying, they sound like something else, like someone else. He reaches for her, but she pulls back, and something cold settles in his chest. Even Padme, even the woman he loves more than life itself, even she can't understand. He leaves her apartment that night and doesn't return for weeks. When he finally does, it's not as a husband seeking reconciliation. It's as something else entirely. Padme looks at him, at the yellow tint that now flickers in his eyes when his emotions run hot, at the hard set of his jaw and the coldness of his expression, and she knows. The man she married is still in there somewhere, buried under layers of pain and rage and misguided purpose. But she can't reach him, not anymore. Anakin, please. Whatever's happening to you, we can face it together. I can help you. No one can help me. His voice is soft, almost gentle, but there's no warmth in it. I've moved beyond help, Padme. I've moved beyond the need for it. Everything I'm becoming for you, for us. One day, you'll understand. He leaves before she can respond, and the tears that stream down her face go unseen. She doesn't know it yet, but that's the last time she'll ever see her husband as anything resembling the man she fell in love with. The Anakin Skywalker, who returns to the Jedi Temple that night, is a stranger wearing a familiar face. And within his chest, where once beat a heart full of hope and passion and desperate need for belonging, there now burns only the cold fire of the dark side. The weeks that follow are a descent into darkness that accelerates with each passing day. Anakin throws himself into the war with renewed ferocity, but his methods grow increasingly brutal. Where once he sought to minimize casualties, now he pursues victory at any cost. Where once he questioned orders that seemed unjust, now he executes them without hesitation. The clone troopers under his command notice the change. though none dare comment on it openly. They've seen what happens to those who question General Skywalker these days. Obi-Wan watches his former apprentice with growing concern, but every attempt to reach him is rebuffed. Their conversations become shorter, more formal, stripped of the warmth that once defined their relationship. When Obi-Wan tries to express his worries, Anakin responds with cold efficiency, deflecting every inquiry with tactical reports and strategic assessments. The brother Obi-Wan thought he knew is slipping away, and he doesn't know how to stop it. The Council senses the disturbance too, though their response is characteristically cautious. They assign Anakin to increasingly remote missions, keeping him away from Coruscant, where his presence might cause complications. Some masters quietly suggest that he should be placed under observation, that his recent behavior warrants closer scrutiny. But Yoda counsels patience, noting that the dark side's influence is subtle, and that confrontation might push Anakin further into its grip. They wait and watch, hoping that the situation will resolve itself, failing to realize that their inaction is itself a choice with consequences. Ahsoka, far from the temple in her self-imposed exile, hears rumors that chill her blood. Stories of a Jedi general whose methods have grown questionable, whose victories come at terrible costs, whose eyes sometimes flash with a color that has no place in a servant of the light. She wants to return, wants to confront the master she once admired and demand answers. But she's no longer part of the Order, no longer has standing to question a Jedi Knight's conduct. All she can do is hope that someone, somehow, will find a way to reach him before it's too late. The assassination missions begin gradually, Palpatine testing the limits of Anakin's loyalty with ever darker assignments. At first, the targets are unambiguously villainous: separatist leaders who have committed atrocities, war profiteers who have prolonged the conflict for their own gain. Anakin completes these missions without qualm, telling himself that these deaths serve the greater good. But slowly, inevitably, the targets become less clear-cut. Political opponents of the Chancellor, who have committed no crime beyond asking inconvenient questions. Journalists who have stumbled too close to secrets that must remain hidden. Ordinary citizens whose only fault was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Each kill takes something from Anakin, though he barely notices the erosion. The boy who once dreamed of freeing slaves is now an enslaver himself, bound to a master whose chains are made of promises and lies. The young man who fell in love with a queen because she saw him as a person rather than a tool is now the ultimate tool, wielded without conscience or hesitation. The Jedi who swore to protect the innocent has become a monster in Jedi robes, and the transformation is so complete that he can no longer see the difference. But the Force sees. The Force remembers what Anakin was and mourns what he has become. And somewhere in the vastness of wild space, on a realm that exists outside normal time and space, beings of immense power sense the disturbance. The Chosen One has fallen, and the balance of the galaxy trembles on the edge of an abyss from which there may be no return. Palpatine summons him to a private meeting, away from the Senate, away from prying eyes. They meet in a chamber deep beneath the works, a place where the Force feels thick and heavy, saturated with energies that the Jedi would call corrupt. Anakin feels right at home. The Chancellor stands in the center of the room, his usual political mask absent, replaced by something sharper and more predatory. The time for pretense has passed, Anakin. I believe you've earned the truth. Anakin watches him, unsurprised by what he senses. He's known for weeks now, perhaps longer. the dark side presence that permeates Coruscant, the subtle manipulations that have guided the war from both sides, the convenient rise of a humble senator from Naboo to the most powerful position in the galaxy. You're the Sith Lord the Jedi have been hunting. Palpatine smiles, and it's the first genuine expression Anakin has ever seen on his face. I am Darth Sidious, heir to the legacy of the Sith and architect of the galaxy's transformation. For years, I've watched you, Anakin. I've seen your potential, your power, your frustration with the limitations the Jedi impose. I've guided your path, yes, but I've never lied to you. The Jedi are weak. The Republic is corrupt. And you are destined for greatness beyond anything either institution could offer. Anakin should feel betrayed. He should feel used, manipulated, played like a piece on a Dejaric board. But the emotion that rises in him is something else entirely. Understanding. This is what he's been searching for all along. Not the cold detachment of the Jedi, not the bureaucratic compromise of the Republic, but purpose, true purpose, wielded by someone strong enough to reshape the galaxy. What do you want from me? The question is practical, not defiant. Sidious steps closer, his yellow eyes gleaming in the dim light. I want you to become what you were always meant to be. The chosen one, yes, but not as the Jedi interpret that prophecy. You will bring balance to the Force by destroying the Jedi Order and ending their stranglehold on galactic power. You will stand at my side as my apprentice, my enforcer, my weapon against anyone who threatens the new order we will create. And in return, I will teach you secrets of the Force that would make the Jedi Masters weep with envy, including, perhaps, the power to save those you love from death itself. The last words hang in the air, heavy with promise. Anakin thinks of his mother, cold in her grave on Tatooine. He thinks of Padme, so fragile, so mortal, so easily lost. The dark side offers what the light never could. Not acceptance of loss, but prevention of it. Not peace through detachment, but power through passion. Teach me. The words seal his fate, though some part of him knows it was sealed long ago. Sidious places a hand on his shoulder, and Anakin feels the dark side surge between them, a current of power that binds them together in purpose. From this moment forward, you are no longer Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight. You are Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith. Rise, my apprentice. We have much work to do. The months that follow are painted in blood. Darth Vader becomes the Chancellor's shadow, executing missions too dark for public knowledge. He hunts down separatist leaders who refuse to surrender, eliminates Republic senators who ask too many questions, and silences journalists who dig too deep into the Chancellor's expanding powers. He does these things without hesitation, without remorse, telling himself that each death brings the galaxy closer to the peace it so desperately needs. The war has proven that democracy is a failure, that freedom without order leads only to chaos. What he does now, the horrors he commits in the name of a greater good, they're all necessary steps toward a future where no mother will die a slave, where no child will grow up in chains, where no wife will wither away from a love forbidden. Each mission takes him deeper into the darkness, each kill making it easier to perform the next. The boy who once dreamed of freeing every slave in the galaxy now creates a different kind of bondage, binding himself to a master whose chains are made of promises and lies. He tells himself it's different this time, that he's in control, that he could walk away whenever he chooses. But deep down, in a place he no longer visits, he knows the truth. The chains grow tighter with every compromise, every justification, every life he takes in the name of the greater good. The missions grow increasingly difficult to rationalize. At first, the targets are unambiguously villainous: war criminals who have ordered massacres, profiteers who have prolonged the conflict for their own gain, separatist fanatics who would rather destroy worlds than accept defeat. These deaths sit easily on his conscience, or what remains of it. They deserved what they got. The galaxy is better without them. But then the targets start to change. A senator who asks too many questions about the Chancellor's emergency powers. A journalist who discovers discrepancies in the war budget. A Jedi Master who expresses concerns about the direction the Republic is heading. These people aren't villains. They're citizens doing their duty, serving the democracy that Anakin once swore to protect. And yet he kills them anyway, because Palpatine says they're threats, and Palpatine is never wrong. Or so he keeps telling himself. The doubt creeps in despite his best efforts to suppress it. He finds himself hesitating before missions, questioning orders in ways he never did before. The darkness that once felt so empowering now feels suffocating, a weight pressing down on his chest that makes it hard to breathe. He starts having nightmares again, not of Padme dying, but of himself, of the monster he's becoming, of the look in his victims' eyes as they realize who has come for them. He still answers to the name Anakin when he walks the halls of the Jedi Temple. The Masters sense something wrong, but they can't identify the source. The disturbance in the force that surrounds him could be attributed to the stress of war, to the weight of command, to any number of mundane explanations. They don't want to believe the truth. They don't want to admit that the Chosen One might be falling to the very darkness he was prophesied to destroy. Obi-Wan tries to reach him, tries to reconnect the bond that once made them brothers, but Anakin keeps him at arm's length with practiced ease. Their conversations become shorter, more formal, stripped of the warmth that once defined their relationship. When Obi-Wan tries to express his worries, Anakin responds with cold efficiency, deflecting every inquiry with tactical reports and strategic assessments. The brother Obi-Wan thought he knew is slipping away, and he doesn't know how to stop it. Ahsoka is gone, far from the temple in her self-imposed exile. But even she hears rumors that chill her blood. Stories of a Jedi general whose methods have grown questionable. Whispers of a shadow that moves through the corridors of power, eliminating anyone who poses a threat to the Chancellor's agenda. She wants to return, wants to confront the master she once admired and demand answers. But she's no longer part of the Order, no longer has standing to question a Jedi Knight's conduct. All she can do is hope that someone, somehow, will find a way to reach him before it's too late. Padme sees the changes too, though she lacks the vocabulary to describe them. The man who returns to their apartment each night is a stranger wearing her husband's face. His eyes are cold where they used to be warm. His touch is demanding where it used to be gentle. He speaks of the future they'll build together, but the future he describes sounds less like a dream and more like a nightmare. A galaxy ruled by iron control, a peace maintained by fear, a love that has become a chain binding them together rather than a bridge connecting them. She tries to talk to him about it, tries to reach the Anakin she married, but every conversation ends the same way. He dismisses her concerns, tells her she doesn't understand the necessities of war, promises that everything will be better once the fighting is over. And she wants to believe him. Force help her. She wants to believe that this darkness is temporary, that the man she loves will emerge from it once the pressure of conflict is removed. But each day makes that belief harder to maintain. The Force itself mourns what Anakin is becoming. The balance that the prophecy spoke of is further from realization than ever. The Chosen One, instead of bringing equilibrium to the eternal struggle between light and dark, has thrown himself entirely onto one side of the scale. The consequences of this choice ripple outward through the cosmic fabric, disturbing patterns that have remained stable for millennia. Somewhere in the vastness of wild space, on a realm that exists outside normal time and space, beings of immense power sense the disturbance. The father feels it first, a tremor in the Force that speaks of destiny going wrong. Then the daughter, her light dimming in sympathy with the light that fades within the Chosen One. And finally the son, who smiles with anticipation as he senses an opportunity beyond his wildest dreams. The stage is being set for a confrontation that will determine the fate of the galaxy. All the pieces are moving into position. All the players are taking their marks. And at the center of it all, Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, falls further into darkness with each passing day, unaware that his salvation and his destruction are both racing toward him through the void. The distress signal that will change everything arrives on a morning like any other. It emerges from coordinates that shouldn't exist, from a region of space that every chart in the Republic database shows as empty. But the Force whispers to those with ears to hear, calling them toward that impossible point with an urgency that cannot be denied. Anakin feels it first, a pull in his chest that has nothing to do with duty and everything to do with destiny. He's returning from a mission when his ship intercepts a distress signal from the edges of wild space. The coordinates make no sense, pointing to a region of space that should be empty according to every chart in the Republic database. But the Force whispers to him, urging him toward that impossible point. He changes course without conscious decision, drawn by something he can't name. The dark side within him stirs with anticipation, recognizing the call of something ancient and powerful. Whatever waits at those coordinates, it's meant for him. He doesn't travel alone. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are also drawn to the signal, their ships arriving at the rendezvous point within hours of each other. The reunion is awkward, laden with all the words they haven't spoken, and all the truths they're afraid to acknowledge. Ahsoka looks at her former master with eyes that hold too much understanding. She's been away from the Order, living in the galaxy's margins, and she's heard rumors. Whispers of a Jedi who has strayed from the path. Shadows of something dark moving through the halls of power. She doesn't want to believe them, but when she looks at Anakin, at the hardness in his face and the cold calculation in his eyes, her heart sinks. Anakin. Her voice is tentative, probing. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," snips. The childhood nickname sounds wrong coming from his lips now, hollow and mechanical. Better than fine, actually. "I've found clarity." Obi-Wan says nothing, but his hand rests near his lightsaber, and his gaze never leaves Anakin's face. The trust that once defined their relationship has eroded into something wary and fragile. They both know something has changed. They both fear what that change might mean. The distress signal leads them to a monolith floating in the void, a structure that shouldn't exist but somehow does. Their ships are caught in its gravitational pull, drawn toward its surface despite their attempts to break free. The crash landing separates them briefly, each one thrown to a different part of the strange realm they find themselves in. Anakin rises from the wreckage of his fighter and takes his first breath of Mortis air. It tastes like power, like potential, like everything he's been craving since he first embraced the dark side. This place is strong with the Force. stronger than anywhere he's ever been. And something here is calling to him. He walks through a landscape that shifts between light and shadow with unnatural speed. Mountains rise and fall in the distance, and the sky cycles through day and night in a matter of minutes. The force is everywhere here, thick and tangible, pressing against his senses with overwhelming intensity. He follows the pull of the dark side, letting it guide his steps toward whatever destiny awaits. The path takes him through valleys of crystal and plains of obsidian, through forests where the trees whisper in languages older than the Republic, and deserts where the sand sparkles with captured starlight. And then he feels it. A presence approaching, ancient and powerful, and radiating authority that makes even the Force seem to hold its breath. A figure materializes before him, tall and weathered, with eyes that have witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. The father of Mortis regards Anakin Skywalker with an expression that shifts from hope to horror in the space of a heartbeat. No, the word echoes across the twisted landscape like thunder. This cannot be. You were supposed to bring balance. You were the one. Anakin tilts his head, studying this being with the cold calculation that has become his default state. He can feel the Father's power, immense and primordial, the kind of strength that could reshape reality itself. But beneath that power, he senses something else: vulnerability, fear. This ancient god is afraid of him. The realization brings a smile to Anakin's face, the first genuine expression he's worn in months. I am the chosen one, just not the one you wanted. The father takes a step back, his form flickering like a candle in a storm. I have waited millennia for your arrival, studying the prophecies, preparing for the moment when the one destined to bring balance would finally appear. But the balance I sensed in you, the potential to unite light and dark, it's been corrupted, twisted into something monstrous. What have you done, child? What have you become? Anakin's smile widens, and the father sees yellow fire flicker in his eyes. I've become free. The Jedi wanted to chain me with their rules and their fear. The Republic wanted to use me as a weapon and discard me when I was no longer useful. Even the Sith Lord who claims to be my master thinks he can control me. But here, now, looking at a being of pure force who trembles at my presence, I finally understand. I am beyond all of them. I am beyond chains, beyond masters, beyond the petty classifications of light and dark. I am power itself. The father raises his hand, and reality bends around his gesture. He reaches out to Anakin, not with violence, but with something deeper, touching the core of who he is and trying to understand how this could have happened. He sees flashes of memory: Shmi dying in her son's arms, Ahsoka walking away, Padme's tears, Palpatine's whispered promises. He sees the slow corruption, the gradual erosion of hope, the calculated destruction of everything that might have anchored Anakin to the light. And he sees something else, something that makes his ancient heart clench with despair. There is still light in Anakin Skywalker, buried deep beneath layers of pain and rage and dark side corruption. But it's fading, flickering like a dying star, and he doesn't know if it can be saved. You must listen to me, Skywalker. Whatever you think you've gained, whatever power you believe the dark side has given you, it's an illusion. The dark side consumes everything it touches. It will hollow you out until nothing remains but hunger and hate. I have seen it happen countless times across the eons. I have watched beings of incredible potential destroy themselves and everyone they loved in pursuit of power they couldn't control. You can still turn back. There's still time. Anakin laughs, and the sound echoes across Mortis like breaking glass. Turn back to what? To the Jedi who never trusted me? To the Order that betrayed my Padawan and drove her away? To a republic so corrupt that a Sith Lord sits at its heart and no one notices? There's nothing to go back to, old man. There never was. The only path is forward, and I intend to walk it until I reach the end. The father's expression hardens, grief giving way to resolve. Then you leave me no choice. This realm exists to maintain the balance of the Force across the galaxy. If you will not embrace that balance willingly, I must take steps to contain the threat you represent. Anakin ignites his lightsaber, the blade humming with concentrated malevolence. You're welcome to try. But before they can clash, reality fractures around them. The father is pulled away by forces even he cannot resist, and Anakin finds himself alone in a canyon of black stone. The walls pulse with veins of crimson energy, and the darkness here feels alive, welcoming, hungry. He knows he should be concerned about the father's threats, should be planning his next move in this strange game. But something else draws his attention. Another presence approaching through the shadows. Something that feels like looking into a dark mirror. The son of Mortis emerges from the canyon walls themselves, his form coalescing from shadow and malice. He's pale and sharp-featured, his eyes burning with the same yellow fire that flickers in Anakin's own gaze. For a long moment, they simply stare at each other, two beings of darkness measuring one another. I felt you the moment you entered this realm. The sun circles Anakin slowly, drinking in his presence like a connoisseur, savoring a rare vintage. The Chosen One, they called you. Father has waited millennia for your arrival, hoping you would restore his precious balance. But I see the truth. There is no balance in you, Skywalker. There is only power. And power recognizes power. Anakin watches him with guarded interest. His instincts scream that this being is dangerous, perhaps more dangerous than anything he's faced before. The dark side within him responds to the son's presence with something that might be kinship. Two predators acknowledging each other across a crowded hunting ground. And what do you see in me? The sun stops circling, standing directly before Anakin with an intensity that borders on reverence. I see potential unmatched by anything this realm has witnessed in its long existence. I see rage that could shatter stars, and grief that could drown galaxies. I see a being who was meant to be the Force's instrument, but has instead become its master. And I see myself reflected in your darkness like a shadow finding its source. The words are seductive, not because they flatter, but because they understand. Anakin has spent his entire life being told what he should be, how he should feel, what path he should walk. The Jedi wanted a weapon they could control. The Sith want an apprentice they can use. But the Son doesn't offer control or use. He offers recognition, understanding, the acknowledgement that Anakin's power is his own, earned through suffering and choice, not granted by any order or master. What do you want with me? Anakin keeps his voice neutral, but his interest is genuine. The son smiles, and it's the smile of someone who has waited a very long time for this moment. I want what I've always wanted: freedom. My father has kept me trapped on this wretched realm for eons, preaching about balance while he slowly suffocates everything I am. He fears the dark side, fears its power and its potential. He would rather see the Force stagnate in eternal equilibrium than allow it to grow and change and become something greater. But you could change that. Together, we could break his chains. Anakin considers this carefully. He's been manipulated before, twisted by Palpatine's careful words into something he never intended to become. He still serves the Sith Lord, despite knowing the truth of what he is, still answers to Sidious's commands while telling himself he's in control. But as he studies the sun, he realizes something important. This being isn't trying to manipulate him, at least not in the subtle, insidious way that Palpatine does. There's no false kindness in the sun's offer, no hidden agenda wrapped in gentle lies. He's simply speaking the truth as he sees it. They are alike, both of them predators trapped in cages built by those who fear them. Why should I trust you? The question isn't hostile, merely practical. My master already has plans for me, for the galaxy. What can you offer that he cannot? The sun's smile widens, revealing teeth that seem too sharp for a human face. Your master is a parasite, feeding on your power while giving you scraps in return. I've watched beings like him rise and fall for thousands of years. They always overreach, always believe their cunning makes them invincible, and they always fall, brought down by the very pawns they thought they controlled. But you, Skywalker, you are different. You have the potential to become something eternal. Not a pawn, not an apprentice, but a true equal. Join with me, and we won't just rule the galaxy. We'll reshape the very fabric of the Force itself. The offer hangs in the air between them, tempting in its simplicity. Anakin has spent so long being used by others, his power leveraged for purposes he never chose. The Jedi used him as a weapon against the Separatists. Palpatine used him as a tool for his own ascension. Even Padme, in her own way, needed him to be something he wasn't sure he could be. But the Son offers something different: partnership, equality, a relationship based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. And yet, Anakin has learned to distrust simple offers. He's learned that everyone wants something, that every gift comes with strings attached, that power freely given is power that can be freely taken away. The Son speaks of equality, but can a being as ancient and powerful as he truly see a mortal as an equal? Or is this just another manipulation, more sophisticated than Palpatine's, but ultimately serving the same purpose? Tell me about yourself. Anakin's voice is carefully neutral, giving nothing away. If we're to be partners, I should understand what I'm partnering with. Where do you come from? What do you want beyond freedom from your father? The Son seems surprised by the questions, as if no one has ever thought to ask them before. For a moment, something almost vulnerable flickers across his features before being replaced by his usual predatory confidence. I was born with Mortis itself, one of the first beings to emerge when the Force took physical form in this place. My sister and I are aspects of the Force made manifest, light and dark given consciousness and will. Our Father maintains the balance between us, ensuring that neither can overwhelm the other. But balance is stagnation, Skywalker. It prevents change, evolution, the natural progression of things. I have spent millennia watching the galaxy suffer because my father refuses to let the Force flow freely. And what would happen if it did? If the dark side was unleashed without restraint? The Son's expression hardens with conviction. In the short term, chaos. Yes, I won't lie to you about that. The established orders would fall, the comfortable certainties would shatter. But from that chaos, something new would emerge. Something stronger, more vital, more true to the nature of existence. The galaxy would evolve beyond the petty conflicts that have defined it for millennia. Suffering would end, not because it was suppressed, but because those strong enough to survive would create something better. It's a seductive vision, and Anakin can feel its pull. He's seen enough of the galaxy's suffering to understand the appeal of burning it all down and starting fresh. But he's also seen enough to know that revolutions rarely benefit those they claim to serve. The strong survive, yes, but the weak are trampled. And who decides what strength means when the old rules no longer apply? Anakin feels the dark side surge within him, responding to the son's words with hungry anticipation. The offer is intoxicating, not because of the power it promises, but because of the freedom. No more masters, no more chains, no more being used and discarded when convenient. Just power, pure and absolute, wielded without limitation or restriction. But something holds him back, some fragment of caution born from too many betrayals. Show me. His voice is steady, challenging. Show me what you can do. Words are easy, and I've heard plenty of them from beings who claim to have my interests at heart. If you want my allegiance, prove you're worthy of it. The son's eyes gleam with approval. He recognizes the test for what it is, the demand of a predator who refuses to submit without proof of strength. Very well, chosen one. Let me show you what awaits those who embrace the dark side fully. He raises his hand, and reality ripples around them. The canyon dissolves into mist, replaced by visions that unfold like living paintings. Anakin sees the galaxy as it could be, remade under their combined power. He watches the Jedi Temple burn, its ancient halls consumed by flames that purge the hypocrisy within. He sees the Republic Senate dismantled, its endless debates silenced by decisive action. He watches Palpatine, the master manipulator, broken and pleading at his feet. He sees Padme standing beside him, not afraid but proud, queen of a new order that answers to no one but them. The visions are seductive, promising everything he's ever wanted, wrapped in darkness and fire. But the son isn't finished. He shows Anakin other things, secrets hidden in the deep history of the Force. He shows him the ancient Sith, not as monsters but as pioneers, beings who pushed the boundaries of what was possible and were vilified for their courage. He shows him the origins of Mortis itself, how the Father brought his children here to maintain the balance of a force that would otherwise tear itself apart. And he shows him the Father's fear, the desperate clinging to equilibrium that has kept the galaxy locked in an endless cycle of conflict and resolution, never progressing, never evolving, just spinning in place while mortals live and die and think their struggles matter. Your Jedi and Sith are children, playing with forces they don't understand. The son's voice echoes around the visions. They think the light and dark are opposites to be balanced or dominated. They don't realize that both are merely aspects of something greater, something that my father has spent eternity trying to suppress. The Force is not meant to be balanced. It's meant to be unleashed. And you, chosen one, are the key to that unleashing. The visions fade, and Anakin finds himself back in the canyon of black stone. His heart is racing, his mind swimming with possibilities he never imagined. The son watches him with patient intensity, waiting for his response. The silence stretches between them, thick with potential. You said your father will try to stop us. Anakin's voice is thoughtful, calculating. What happens when he does? The son waves a dismissive hand. Father is powerful, yes, but he's also paralyzed by his devotion to balance. He will hesitate to use his full strength against me, and that hesitation will be his undoing. My sister might prove more troublesome. She embodies the light as I embody the dark, and her power is not to be underestimated. But she too is bound by principles that limit her effectiveness. Together, we can overcome them both. Sister, Anakin files away this information, building a mental map of the players on this board. Tell me about her. Tell me about all of them. I want to understand exactly what we're dealing with. The son nods, appreciating the tactical approach. The father is the oldest of us, the one who created this realm to serve as a focal point for the Force's balance. His power is vast but inflexible. He can maintain equilibrium, but struggles to impose his will when that equilibrium is threatened. My sister, the daughter, embodies everything the Jedi claim to value. Compassion, selflessness, the light side in its purest form. She will try to reach you, Skywalker. She will speak of redemption and second chances, and the goodness she believes still exists within you. And does it? The question surprises even Anakin. He doesn't know why he asks it, what answer he's hoping to hear. The son studies him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. That depends on what you mean by goodness. The capacity for love, for connection, for caring about something beyond yourself. Yes, that's still there. I can feel it, buried deep but not extinguished. Your father taught you that such feelings are the path to the dark side, and your mother taught you the same, and so you've tried to crush them. But they persist. They're part of what makes you so powerful. Anakin's hand moves unconsciously toward his chest, toward the hollow ache that has lived there since he last saw Padme's face. Is that weakness? The son shakes his head slowly. It's potential. The Jedi see attachment as a vulnerability to be eliminated. The Sith see it as a tool to be exploited. But the truth is more complex. Your feelings, your connections, they anchor you to the physical world in ways that purely spiritual beings cannot understand. They give you something to fight for, something to protect, something to fuel your power beyond mere ambition. Used properly, they could make you unstoppable. And improperly, they could destroy you. That's the risk you take by refusing to become a hollow shell like the Jedi want. But I suspect you've already made your choice on that matter. Anakin thinks of Padme again, of the child she might be carrying, of the future that seems to slip further away with each passing day. Yes, I made that choice a long time ago. Meanwhile, in another part of Mortis, Obi-Wan Kenobi awakens in a garden of impossible beauty. Light streams down from a sun that seems to shine directly upon this place alone, and the flowers that bloom here carry colors he has no names for. The air smells of honey and growing things, and the Force flows through everything with a gentleness he hasn't felt since he was a young Padawan, first learning to touch the cosmic energy that binds the universe together. He rises slowly, his body aching from the crash, and finds himself face to face with a being of pure radiance. The daughter of Mortis looks upon Obi-Wan with eyes full of ancient wisdom and immediate sorrow. She is beautiful in a way that transcends physical form, her presence a warm light that seems to push back the shadows in his soul. You care for him. The words are not a question, but a statement of fact. Even now, even after everything he's done, I can feel your love for him burning beneath your grief. Obi-Wan's hand moves to his lightsaber, instinct making him wary even in the face of such gentle power. Who are you? What is this place? And how do you know what I feel? The daughter smiles, and it's like watching the sun rise over a world that has known only darkness. I am the embodiment of the light side of the Force, one of three beings who exist to maintain the balance that holds the universe together. This place is Mortis, a realm outside normal space and time, where the Force exists in its purest form. And I know what you feel, because the Force itself whispers of your pain. You have loved Anakin Skywalker as a brother, raised him as a father might, and watched him walk a path that leads only to destruction. Obi-Wan's grip on his lightsaber loosens, though he doesn't let go entirely. You speak as if you know what's happened to him. You speak as if you understand. No one understands. The daughter moves closer, her presence radiating warmth and compassion. I understand more than you know, Jedi. I have watched countless beings fall to the dark side across the millennia. I have seen the patterns, the vulnerabilities, the moments where a single choice could have changed everything. And I have felt your Anakin's descent, felt the light within him dim while the darkness grew. It is a tragedy that echoes through the Force, a wound that bleeds across the cosmos. Then you know he's beyond saving. Obi-Wan's voice cracks despite his best efforts. The Council was right about him all along. I should have seen it. I should have done something before it was too late. No. The daughter's voice is firm, carrying a certainty that cuts through his despair. Anakin Skywalker is not beyond saving. The light within him may be dim, but it has not been extinguished. As long as it remains, there is hope. The question is whether that hope can be reached, whether the walls he has built around his heart can be breached before the darkness consumes him entirely. Obi-Wan looks at her, wanting desperately to believe, but afraid of the pain that hope might bring. How? How do we reach him? I've tried. Force knows I've tried. But every time I get close, every time I think I see a glimmer of the old Anakin, he pushes me away. It's like there's a wall between us, and I can't find a way through. The daughter gestures, and images form in the air between them. She shows him Anakin as he was, a bright-eyed boy full of dreams and fears. She shows him Anakin as he is, a shadow wearing a familiar face, his eyes flickering with yellow fire. And she shows him something else, a possibility, a potential future where Anakin stands at a crossroads, light and dark, balanced on a knife's edge. The path to redemption is never simple. The daughter's voice is gentle but firm. It requires sacrifice, courage, and a willingness to face pain that might break lesser souls. Your love for Anakin is a powerful force, but love alone will not be enough. You must be prepared to fight for him, not just with weapons, but with your very being. You must show him that the light he turned away from is still there, still waiting, still worth embracing. And if we fail, if the darkness is too strong, then the galaxy will fall into shadow, and the balance that my family has maintained for eons will shatter beyond repair. The Chosen One was meant to bring balance to the Force. Instead, he has become the greatest imbalance it has ever known. If he cannot be redeemed, he must be stopped. Otherwise, the destruction he will unleash will make the Clone Wars seem like a minor skirmish. Obi-Wan absorbs this, feeling the weight of destiny pressing down on his shoulders. It's too much, too vast, too important for a single Jedi to bear. But he thinks of Anakin, of the boy who looked at him with such hope and trust, of the young man who fought beside him through countless battles, of the brother he still loves despite everything. All right. His voice steadies with resolve. Tell me what I need to do. In yet another corner of Mortis, Ahsoka Tano finds herself in a place of eternal twilight. The sky above her is neither day nor night, but something in between, a constant struggle between light and darkness that paints everything in shades of gray. She can feel her former master somewhere in the distance, his presence cold and vast and wrong in ways that make her heart ache. She knew something had changed in him before she left the Order. She just didn't know how much. The father materializes before her, his ancient form flickering with barely contained distress. Young one, you must listen carefully. There is much you need to understand, and little time to explain it. Ahsoka's lightsabers ignite instantly, her stance shifting to a defensive posture she learned from Anakin himself. Who are you? What have you done with Anakin and Obi-Wan? I am the father of this realm, the keeper of balance between light and dark. Your companions are unharmed, merely separated as I was when I first sensed the disturbance you brought with you. The being you call your master, the one you still love despite knowing what he has become. He is the source of that disturbance. Ahsoka's grip on her weapons tightens, but she doesn't attack. She can feel the truth in the father's words, can sense his power and his purpose. What do you mean? What disturbance? The father waves his hand, and images appear in the air around them. She sees Anakin as she knew him, bright and passionate, and always pushing against the boundaries the Jedi set. Then, she sees him change, watches the light in his eyes dim, while something cold and hungry takes its place. She sees him commit acts of violence that make her stomach turn, sees him embrace darkness with a fervor that speaks of desperate need rather than true belief. And she sees the potential consequences, galaxies burning, civilizations falling, the Force itself twisted into something unrecognizable. The Chosen One was prophesied to bring balance to the Force. The father's voice is heavy with grief. For millennia, I prepared for his arrival, hoping he would be the one to finally end the eternal struggle between light and dark. Instead, he has surrendered himself to the darkness entirely. He has become not the balance I hoped for, but the greatest imbalance the Force has ever known. And now, my son seeks to claim him, to forge an alliance that will shatter everything I have built. Your son? Ahsoka struggles to process everything she's seeing. There are others here like you. There are 3 of us. Myself, my son, who embodies the dark side, and my daughter, who embodies the light. Together, we maintain the balance that holds the universe together. But if the son succeeds in turning Anakin fully to his cause, that balance will be destroyed. The darkness they unleash together will consume not just Mortis, but the entire galaxy beyond. Ahsoka deactivates her lightsabers, her mind racing. Then we have to stop them. We have to get to Anakin before this son of yours can finish whatever he started. The father regards her with something like hope, though it's tempered by ancient weariness. Your determination is admirable, young one. But you don't understand the full extent of what you face. The Anakin you knew, the master you loved, he is still in there somewhere. But he is buried beneath layers of pain and rage and dark side corruption that have been building since before you ever met him. Reaching him will not be a matter of defeating an enemy. It will be a matter of healing a wound that has festered for decades. I don't care how hard it is. Ahsoka's voice is fierce, unyielding. I won't abandon him. Not like the Council did. Not like everyone else who was supposed to care about him. If there's even a chance of bringing him back, I have to try. The father studies her for a long moment, seeing the strength that burns within her, like a small but fierce flame. In her eyes, he sees echoes of Anakin himself, the same passionate commitment, the same refusal to accept limitations. But where Anakin's passion has curdled into darkness, Ahsoka's remains pure, tempered by the suffering she has endured into something resilient and true. Very well, young one. I will help you reach him. But you must understand what you are walking into. My son is ancient and powerful, and he has been waiting for someone like Anakin for a very long time. He will not surrender his prize easily. and Anakin himself may resist your efforts to save him. The darkness has its hooks deep in his soul, and part of him may no longer want to be saved. Then I'll have to convince him otherwise. Ahsoka reignites her lightsabers, their green blades casting strange shadows in the twilight. Take me to him. Back in the Canyon of Black Stone, Anakin and the Sun continue their dark communion. The Sun has begun to show him the history of Mortis, the conflicts and compromises that have shaped this realm across the eons. He speaks of his father's tyranny, the endless suppression of the dark side in the name of balance, the way the light has been allowed to flourish while darkness is constantly pruned back. It's a biased account, Anakin knows, but there's truth in it too. He's seen the same pattern in the Jedi Order, the same fear of darkness that drives them to reject anyone who doesn't fit their narrow definition of what a Force user should be. My father created this place as a prison, the Sun explains as they walk through caverns of crystal that pulse with dark energy. He couldn't destroy me, not without destroying my sister and himself in the process. So he contained me, trapped me here, where my influence on the galaxy would be limited. For millennia, I've existed in this cage, watching the Force stagnate under his careful management. Wars rise and fall, civilizations bloom and wither, but nothing truly changes. The balance he maintains is not harmony, but stasis, and stasis is death. Anakin listens, correlating what he hears with what he knows of the Force. The Jedi speak of the dark side as corruption, as a cancer that spreads wherever it touches. But the Sun speaks of it differently, as potential that has been suppressed, as evolution that has been denied. The truth is probably somewhere in between, but the Sun's perspective resonates with something deep in Anakin's soul. He's felt the suppression the Jedi practice, the way they try to sand down every sharp edge until their members are as smooth and uniform as pebbles in a stream. What happens if we break your father's hold? What changes? Everything changes. The Sun's voice trembles with suppressed longing. The Force will flow freely again, unbound by artificial constraints. The galaxy will evolve, grow, become something greater than the stagnant pond my father has maintained. Yes, there will be chaos at first. Yes, there will be destruction. But destruction is not the end. It is the beginning. From the ashes of the old order, a new one will rise, stronger and more vital than anything that came before. Anakin considers this, weighing it against his own goals. He came to power, seeking to protect those he loves, to create a galaxy where suffering like his mother's would be impossible. But the more power he's gained, the further that goal seems to retreat. Palpatine promises control, but delivers only more chaos. The war drags on, consuming lives and resources, while the Chancellor grows ever more powerful. Maybe the Sun is right. Maybe the only way to truly change things is to tear them down entirely and start fresh. But something nags at him, a whisper of caution that he can't quite silence. The Sun speaks of freedom, but everything about this arrangement suggests a partnership, not independence. He would be trading Palpatine's leash for the Sun's, and he's done being on a leash. What about afterwards? When your father is defeated and the Force is unleashed, what then? The Sun pauses, turning to face Anakin directly. Then we rule together as equals, not master and apprentice, not leader and follower, but two beings of power shaping the galaxy according to our shared vision. And what is that vision? The Sun's smile shows too many teeth. That is something we would determine together. I have goals, yes, ambitions I've nursed across millennia of imprisonment. But I'm not so arrogant as to think my perspective is the only valid one. You bring something I lack, Skywalker. You bring connection to the living galaxy, understanding of the struggles and desires of mortal beings. Together, we could create something neither of us could achieve alone. It's a compelling argument, and Anakin finds himself nodding slowly. But before he can respond, the air around them shifts. A presence approaches, vast and terrible, radiating authority that makes even the dark side seem to hold its breath. The Father has arrived. He appears in a burst of blinding light, his presence slamming into the canyon like a hammer striking an anvil. The force of his arrival sends tremors through Mortis itself, reality warping around his immense power. Rocks crack and tumble from the canyon walls. The air itself seems to crystallize with the intensity of the force flowing through him. This is a being who has existed since the dawn of time, who has maintained the balance of the universe for longer than civilizations have risen and fallen. And for the first time in millennia, he is truly afraid. The sun hisses with displeasure, his form shifting to something darker and more defensive. Shadows gather around him like armor, his own power rising to meet his father's presence. Father, how predictable that you would interrupt. I was having such a lovely conversation with our guest. The son's voice drips with contempt, bred from eons of resentment. He has waited so long for this moment, for a being capable of helping him break free from his father's control. He will not let it slip away. Enough. The father's voice echoes with power that makes the very stones tremble, a declaration of authority that has silenced conflicts across countless ages. I will not allow this corruption to continue. I have watched and waited, hoping the chosen one would see reason. But I can feel the darkness deepening in him with every moment he spends in your presence. The darkness you nurture threatens everything we have built, everything we have sacrificed to maintain. He turns to Anakin, his ancient eyes blazing with desperate intensity. In those eyes, Anakin sees something he didn't expect. Not judgment or condemnation, but understanding. The Father has watched beings fall to darkness for millennia. He knows the patterns, the vulnerabilities, the moments of weakness that can cascade into complete corruption. And he knows that Anakin is teetering on the edge of a fall from which there may be no return. Listen to me, Skywalker. My son offers you power, yes, but it is the power of destruction, of entropy. Everything he touches withers and dies, not because he chooses it to be so, but because that is his nature. The dark side consumes everything it touches, including those who wield it. If you join him, you will become a force of annihilation, consuming everything you ever loved, until nothing remains but ash and regret. I have seen it happen countless times across the eons. I have watched beings of incredible potential destroy themselves and everything they cared about in pursuit of the darkness my son represents. You are not the first chosen one I have encountered, Skywalker. You are simply the most powerful, and that makes your fall all the more catastrophic. Anakin meets his gaze without flinching. Everything I ever loved has already been consumed. My mother died in slavery, while the Jedi did nothing to save her. My apprentice left because the order she served betrayed her trust. My wife looks at me with fear instead of the love we once shared. Tell me, old man, what exactly do I have left to lose? The words come out bitter, defensive, carrying all the pain he's accumulated across years of disappointment and betrayal. The father's expression shifts, grief mixing with determination. More than you know, chosen one. Far more than you can imagine. The light in you has not been extinguished, Anakin. I can feel it, buried deep beneath layers of darkness and pain, but still burning. The woman you love still carries your child within her. The apprentice who left would return to you in a heartbeat if you called to her, if she believed there was something left worth returning to. Even your former master, the man you consider a brother, still believes in your redemption, despite every reason you have given him to abandon that faith. These people have not given up on you. The only one giving up on Anakin Skywalker is Anakin Skywalker himself. You have more to lose than you can imagine, and my son will ensure you lose all of it. Anakin's breath catches at the mention of Padme, of the child he hadn't dared to believe was possible. For a moment, the darkness within him wavers, and something that might be hope flickers in his chest. But the sun is there immediately, his presence wrapping around Anakin like a protective shroud. Don't listen to him, Skywalker. This is what he does. He finds your weaknesses and exploits them, plays on your fears, and hopes to maintain his precious balance. The child he speaks of, the love he promises you could have, they will only be safe in a galaxy where you have the power to protect them. And that power lies with me, not with him. The father raises his hands, and light begins to gather around him. If words will not reach you, then perhaps actions will. I am sorry, Anakin. I had hoped for a different path, but the threat you represent to the balance of the Force cannot be allowed to grow. He unleashes the gathered energy, a wave of pure force that crashes toward Anakin like a tsunami. It's meant to subdue, to strip away the darkness, and force Anakin to confront what he's become. But the sun moves with him, their combined power rising to meet the father's assault. The impact shakes Mortis to its foundations. Mountains crumble in the distance, and the sky itself seems to crack with the force of their collision. Anakin feels the light pressing against him, trying to reach into his core and tear out the darkness by its roots. For a moment, just a moment, he feels something within him respond. A voice that sounds like his mother, like Padme, like Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, calling him back from the edge. But then the sun's power surges through him, drowning out the voices, filling him with a strength that makes the father's assault seem like nothing. They push back together, light and dark intertwined in a combination the Force has never seen before. The father staggers, his ancient defenses crumbling under their combined might. His eyes widen with shock and fear as he realizes just how powerful Anakin has become, how thoroughly the dark side has augmented his already considerable strength. The Chosen One was meant to bring balance. Instead, he has tipped the scales further than they have ever been tipped before. The counterattack throws the father backward, his form flickering like a dying flame. He crashes into the canyon wall, stone crumbling around him as he struggles to rise. The sun laughs with triumph, advancing on his fallen father, with dark energy crackling around his hands. This is the moment I've waited millennia for. The great keeper of balance, brought low by the very one he was supposed to control. How does it feel, Father? How does it feel to know your life's work has been for nothing? But before the killing blow can land, light erupts from above. The daughter descends like a falling star, her presence slamming into the sun and driving him back from their father. She places herself between the fallen patriarch and his attackers, her form blazing with power that matches her brother's darkness. This ends now, brother. I will not let you destroy everything we were created to maintain. The sun sneers at her, contempt dripping from every word. Always the faithful daughter, always running to father's defense. When will you learn that his balance is a lie? The galaxy doesn't need equilibrium, it needs evolution, and your precious light is nothing but a chain holding it back. Their powers clash, light against dark, creating a maelstrom of energy that threatens to tear the canyon apart. Anakin watches from the sidelines, calculating, assessing. The daughter is powerful, perhaps as powerful as the son, but she's fighting to protect rather than destroy. That defensive posture limits her options, makes her predictable. If the son can wear her down, break through her defenses, this battle could end in his favor. But the daughter isn't fighting alone. Anakin senses them approaching before they arrive. Two familiar presences cutting through the chaos of the battle. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka emerge from the swirling maelstrom, their lightsabers ignited, their faces set with determination. They look at Anakin, and he sees it in their eyes. The pain, the hope, the desperate refusal to give up on him despite everything. Anakin. Ahsoka's voice cuts through the noise of the battle. Please, we can still fix this. Whatever's happened, whatever you've done, we can figure it out together. Anakin's expression doesn't change, but something deep within him stirs at her words. He remembers teaching her, training her, watching her grow from an uncertain Padawan into a confident young woman. He remembers the pride he felt when she stood up to the council, the anguish when she walked away. She was the closest thing to a daughter he ever had, and even now, standing on opposite sides of an impossible conflict, that bond refuses to break entirely. There's nothing to fix, Snips. His voice is colder than he intends. I'm not broken. I'm finally becoming what I was always meant to be. Obi-Wan steps forward, his lightsaber held ready, but not raised in threat. I don't believe that. The Anakin I know, the man who was like a brother to me, he's still in there. I can feel him struggling against the darkness you've wrapped yourself in. Let us help you, Anakin. Let us bring you home. Home? The word comes out like a curse. The Jedi Temple was never my home. It was a prison where they tried to crush everything that made me who I am. The only home I ever knew was a slave hovel on Tatooine, and that was burned to the ground when the Tuskens took my mother. There is no home for me, Obi-Wan. There's only power and the will to use it. The sun appears beside Anakin, his presence a dark counterpoint to the light radiating from Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. He places a hand on Anakin's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity that makes Obi-Wan's heart clench with fear. Give it up, Jedi. Your chosen one has made his choice. He stands with me now, and together we will reshape this realm and the galaxy beyond. Your order's time is over. A new age is beginning, and there is no place in it for your antiquated beliefs. Ahsoka's lightsabers flash, her stance shifting to aggressive. I wasn't talking to you. She looks at Anakin, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I'm talking to my master, the man who saved my life more times than I can count, the man who believed in me when no one else did, who fought for me when the council wanted to throw me away. That man is still in there, Anakin. I know he is. And I'm not leaving this place without him. The battlefield shifts around them, the conflict between the daughter and son intensifying even as this smaller, more personal confrontation plays out. Anakin looks at Ahsoka, at the fierce determination in her eyes, at the love she still carries for him, despite everything. For a moment, just a moment, the darkness in him wavers. He remembers her as she was, a snippy Padawan who challenged him at every turn. He remembers the bond they forged, the trust they built, the way she looked at him like he was something worth believing in. And he remembers the day she left, how it felt like losing a limb, like a piece of his soul being torn away. But the sun is there, whispering in his ear, his presence a constant pressure against the light, trying to reach through. Don't let them manipulate you, Skywalker. This is what the light does. It plays on your emotions, your attachments, tries to use your love against you. True power means being able to set aside these weaknesses when they threaten your purpose. You've come too far to turn back now. Anakin straightens, the moment of vulnerability passing. His eyes harden, and when he speaks, his voice carries no trace of the conflict within. Then you'll die here, Ahsoka. Both of you. Because I'm not going back, and I'm not going to let you stand in my way. He ignites his lightsaber, the blade humming with concentrated malevolence, and takes a step toward his former apprentice. But he underestimates Obi-Wan, who has been studying his former Padawan's stance, reading the subtle signs of intent that years of fighting together have taught him. When Anakin moves, Obi-Wan is already there, his lightsaber meeting Anakin's in a crash of energy that sends sparks flying. The two of them lock blades, faces inches apart, and for a moment, it's like 100 other sparring sessions they've shared. But the warmth is gone from Anakin's eyes, replaced by something cold and hungry. I don't want to fight you, Anakin. Obi-Wan's voice is steady, despite the strain of holding back his former student's enhanced strength. But I will if I must. The man you've become isn't the man I raised. And that man, the real Anakin, would want me to stop him from becoming a monster. Anakin's response is to push harder, his blade inching toward Obi-Wan's face. Maybe you never knew the real me at all. Their battle joins the larger conflict, 4 lightsabers flashing amid the cosmic struggle between the children of Mortis. The canyon transforms into a maelstrom of power, light and dark colliding in patterns that have not been seen since the birth of the universe itself. The very stones of Mortis seem to weep at the violence being done to them, cracks spreading through reality as forces beyond comprehension tear at the fabric of existence. The sun presses his attack against the daughter with the fury of millennia of resentment. Dark lightning crackles from his fingers, forking across the battlefield in patterns that would instantly kill any mortal being. The daughter counters with waves of pure light that illuminate even the deepest shadows, her power a beacon that pushes back against her brother's darkness. Their conflict is eternal, the same battle they have fought since consciousness first awakened in them. But never before has it been so intense. The presence of the Chosen One has changed everything, tipping the scales in ways neither of them fully anticipated. The father lies wounded against the canyon wall, gathering his strength for another intervention. His ancient form flickers with the effort of maintaining cohesion, the damage he's sustained threatening to unmake him entirely. But his eyes remain fixed on the battle, calculating, searching for any opportunity to turn the tide. He has existed since the dawn of time. He will not surrender now, not when everything he has sacrificed to maintain hangs in the balance. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka fight their former brother and master, their lightsabers clashing in patterns they've practiced countless times, but never expected to use against each other. Every strike carries the weight of shared history. Every parry echoes with memories of battles fought side by side, of victories celebrated and defeats mourned together. They don't want to hurt Anakin. They want to reach him, to break through the darkness that has consumed him, to remind him of who he used to be. Ahsoka moves with a speed and grace that Anakin himself taught her, her dual blades weaving patterns of defense that keep his strikes at bay. She's always been fast, even among Jedi. but the daughter's gift has elevated her to something beyond mortal capability. She doesn't try to hurt him, only to block and redirect, to keep him engaged while searching for some opening to his heart. Remember, Christophsis? Her voice rises above the crash of lightsabers, desperate and determined. Remember how you didn't want me as your Padawan? You said I was too young, too reckless, too annoying with my constant questions. You called me Snips because I was snippy, and I called you Sky Guy because you were always reaching for the stars. But you gave me a chance anyway. You saw something in me that no one else could see, something worth believing in. You taught me that everyone deserves a second chance, that no one is beyond redemption. Were you lying when you taught me that? Anakin's attacks don't slow, but she sees something flicker in his eyes. A hesitation, perhaps. A memory surfacing through the darkness that has consumed him. Shut up. The words come out harsh, but there's no conviction behind them. Remember all the battles we survived together. Ahsoka presses on, knowing that silence is surrender. Remember Teth, where you carried me up that cliff face when I was injured. Remember Ryloth, where we freed those villagers from the separatist occupation. Remember Onderon, where you taught the rebels to fight for themselves instead of just doing it for them. That wasn't the dark side, Anakin. That was you. The real you. The one who cared about people, who fought for the helpless, who never gave up, no matter how bad things got. That man is still in there somewhere. I know he is. A particularly vicious strike nearly gets through her guard, but she twists away at the last moment, her montrals brushing the edge of his blade close enough to singe. I said, shut up. There's more emotion in his voice now, more conflict. The darkness is fighting to maintain control, but something else is fighting back. And remember Padme, the woman you love more than anything in the galaxy. Do you think this is what she wants for you? Do you think she would look at what you've become and feel anything but horror? The Anakin I knew would do anything to protect her, to make her happy, to build a future together. The creature standing before me now would destroy her without even meaning to. Is that really what you want? Is that really the man you've chosen to become? Anakin's face contorts with rage, and he launches himself at Ahsoka with a fury that nearly overwhelms her defenses. His lightsaber becomes a blur of deadly light, each strike carrying enough power to cut through durasteel. The sun laughs somewhere in the chaos, delighting in the conflict, feeding on the dark emotions that swirl through the battlefield. But Obi-Wan is there, his blade intercepting Anakin's strike before it can find its mark. The impact sends sparks flying, and for a moment, the three of them are frozen in a tableau of conflict. She's right, Anakin. Obi-Wan's voice is calm, despite the fury of their engagement, the steadiness born from years of mastering his emotions in the Jedi way. I spoke to Padme before we received the distress signal. She asked about you, asked if I had noticed anything different. She knows something is wrong, Anakin. She can feel it through the bond you share, even if she doesn't have the words for what she's sensing. She's afraid for you. She's afraid of what you're becoming. And she wanted me to tell you that she still loves you, no matter what. That if you can find your way back from wherever you've gone, she'll be waiting. She'll always be waiting. Anakin's assault falters for just a moment. Padme, she spoke to you? She asked me to save you. Obi-Wan presses the advantage, not with his blade, but with his words, with the bond they share despite everything that's happened between them. She said you're still the man she fell in love with, buried somewhere under all this darkness. She begged me to bring that man home. And I intend to keep that promise, Anakin. Even if it kills me. Even if I have to fight through every demon in the galaxy to reach you. Because that's what brothers do. That's what family does. They don't give up on each other, no matter how hard things get. The words strike deeper than any lightsaber. Anakin stumbles back, his guard dropping as emotions he's tried to suppress come flooding to the surface. He thinks of Padme, of her smile, of the way her eyes light up when she sees him walk through the door. He thinks of the nights they spent together, planning a future that seemed so impossible. A life where they didn't have to hide, where their love wasn't a secret shame, but a celebrated bond. He thinks of the child she carries, the children the father mentioned, new lives that represent everything he claimed to be fighting for. And he thinks of what he's become, the murders he's committed, the darkness he's embraced, the man who would kill his own apprentice and brother without hesitation. The conflict rages within him, light and dark battling for supremacy. For a moment, the outcome hangs in the balance. He could turn back. He could let go of the darkness, embrace the people who still love him, try to rebuild something from the ashes of what he's destroyed. The possibility shimmers before him like a mirage in the desert, beautiful and tantalizingly close. But the sun is there, his presence crashing into Anakin's moment of weakness, like a wave against the shore. No, you will not take him from me. He reaches out with the dark side, not attacking Anakin but reinforcing him, pouring more power into the cracks that doubt has opened. Remember what they did to you, Skywalker. Remember the mother they let die, the apprentice they betrayed, the wife they would condemn. The light offers nothing but more suffering. Only through the dark side can you protect what you love. The reinforcement tips the scales. Anakin's eyes blaze yellow, and when he raises his head, the moment of vulnerability is gone, replaced by something colder, harder, more absolutely committed to the dark. You want to save me? His voice is barely recognizable. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. He raises his hand, and the Force explodes outward. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are thrown back, their lightsabers torn from their grasps. They crash against the canyon walls, stunned and disoriented. The daughter cries out and tries to intervene, but the son meets her with renewed fury, their battle intensifying to levels that threaten to tear Mortis apart. The father finally rises, battered and diminished but not defeated. He sees Anakin advancing on the fallen Jedi, lightsaber raised for the killing stroke, and he makes a decision that will change everything. He reaches into the fabric of Mortis itself, drawing on the realm's fundamental nature, and does something he has never done before. He creates. Light coalesces in his palm, solidifying into a blade that seems to be made of captured starfire. The dagger of Mortis, a weapon capable of killing anything that exists within this realm, even beings as powerful as his children, even the chosen one himself. With the last of his strength, he hurls the dagger toward Anakin, aiming not to kill but to wound, to break through the dark side's hold, long enough for the light to reach him. But the son sees the attack coming. He breaks away from his battle with the daughter and throws himself into the dagger's path, catching it before it can reach Anakin. The weapon burns his hand, its nature antithetical to his own, but he holds it nonetheless. A slow smile spreads across his face as he realizes what he now possesses. Father. His voice drips with mock gratitude. You've given me exactly what I need. With this, I can end you once and for all. I can unmake this prison you built and finally take my rightful place in the galaxy beyond. The father's expression crumbles with horror. No, that wasn't. I never meant. What have I done? The son advances on his father, the dagger gleaming with deadly potential. The daughter tries to stop him, but she's weakened from their battle, her light flickering like a candle in the wind. Everything has gone wrong, spiraling out of control into a nightmare that threatens to consume them all. But as the son raises the dagger to strike, something unexpected happens. Anakin's hand closes around the son's wrist, stopping the blow before it can land. The son turns, confusion mixing with anger. "What are you doing, Skywalker? This is our moment of triumph." Anakin's expression is unreadable, his eyes still burning with dark side fire. "I'm making sure you understand something, partner." He twists, and the dagger tears free from the son's grip. He holds it now, the weapon capable of killing gods, and both sides of the conflict freeze to see what he'll do with it. "We had an agreement." Anakin's voice is eerily calm. "Equals, you said. Partners in reshaping the galaxy. No masters, no servants, just two beings of power working together." "Yes." The son's voice is eager now, desperate to regain control of the situation. "That's exactly what I said. And I meant it, Skywalker. Together, we can achieve anything. Just give me the dagger. Let me finish my father, and we'll begin our new order." Anakin looks at the dagger, feels its power thrumming against his palm. Then he looks at the son, at the desperate hunger in those burning eyes. And he remembers other eyes, other promises, other partnerships that were never really about equality at all. Palpatine spoke of partnership too, of teaching me the secrets of the Force, of ruling together as master and apprentice. But I was never really his partner, was I? I was his tool, his weapon, his puppet dancing on strings I couldn't even see. The son's expression shifts, wariness replacing eagerness. "Skywalker, I don't know what you're implying, but I assure you, our arrangement is nothing like that. I genuinely want you as an equal. Your power, your potential, they complement my own in ways that would benefit us both." Anakin takes a step toward him, the dagger still gleaming in his hand. "That's exactly what Palpatine said. And maybe you even believe it, the same way he believed it. But I've learned something about beings like you, beings like him. You don't know how to have equals. You only know how to have servants and rivals. And I've had enough of being either." "No, wait." The son raises his hands, genuine fear flickering across his features for the first time. "We can discuss this. We can renegotiate the terms. I'll give you whatever you want, Skywalker. Just put down the dagger and let's talk." Anakin's smile is cold as he closes the distance between them. That's the problem with offering someone everything. It makes them realize you're afraid of what they might take on their own. He drives the dagger forward, and the son screams. The weapon does its work with terrible efficiency. The sun, ancient embodiment of the dark side, begins to unravel. Dark energy bleeds from the wound like smoke from a dying fire, dissipating into the air of Mortis. He looks at Anakin with betrayal and disbelief, unable to comprehend how this mortal could have turned on him so completely. Why? The word is barely a whisper. I gave you everything. I could have made you a god. That's exactly why. Anakin twists the dagger, and the son's form begins to collapse in on itself. I'm tired of people trying to make me things. Jedi Knight, Sith apprentice, chosen one, partner in cosmic domination. Everyone wants to define what I am, shape me into something that serves their purposes. But I'm done being shaped. From now on, I define myself. The sun dissolves completely, leaving nothing but shadow and memory. The dark side presence that has permeated Mortis since the beginning of time simply ends. The realm shudders with the loss, reality itself struggling to adjust to the absence. The daughter falls to her knees, overwhelmed by the sudden shift in the Force's balance. The father stares at Anakin with an expression that mingles horror and something that might almost be awe. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka rise slowly, their injuries forgotten as they witness something unprecedented. A mortal has killed a god, and not just any god, but the embodiment of the dark side itself. Anakin stands alone in the center of the devastation, the dagger still clutched in his hand. He looks at it for a long moment, feeling the power it represents. He could use it again. He could kill the father, the daughter, anyone who might pose a threat to him. He has become something unprecedented, a being of terrible power, answerable to no one. But when he looks up, his eyes find Ahsoka's, and something passes between them, some fragment of the bond they once shared. She doesn't look at him with fear or disgust, though both would be justified. She looks at him with hope, tempered by caution, but unmistakably present. Anakin. Her voice is quiet, but steady. It's over now. You don't have to do this anymore. You can come home. Home. The word echoes in the hollow space where his heart used to be. He thinks about what that means, what it could mean if he let it. A life with Padme, raising their child together. A reconciliation with Obi-Wan, rebuilding the brotherhood that war and darkness have eroded. A future where he's defined not by what he's done, but by what he chooses to do next. It's a beautiful dream. But Anakin has learned not to trust beautiful dreams. He walks toward her slowly, the dagger still in his hand. Ahsoka tenses but doesn't retreat. Obi-Wan moves to her side, ready to defend her if necessary. The father and daughter watch from a distance, uncertain of what comes next. Anakin stops a few feet away, looking at the people who still believe in him despite everything. I killed a god today. His voice is strange, distant, as if he's speaking from somewhere very far away. I looked into the eyes of an eternal being and ended his existence like it was nothing. How do you come back from that? How do you go home and pretend to be normal after you've done something that will echo through the Force forever? Ahsoka steps forward, closing the distance between them. I don't know, but I know you don't have to figure it out alone. Whatever you've become, whatever you've done, you're still my master. You're still the man who taught me that no one is beyond redemption. She reaches out and places her hand on his, on the hand that holds the dagger. Were you lying when you taught me that? Anakin looks at her hand, so small against his own. He remembers teaching her that lesson, remembers believing it with his whole heart. Before his mother died, before Ahsoka left, before Palpatine twisted him into something unrecognizable. Was he lying? Was redemption always just a pretty story, he told himself, to justify the compromises he was making? He doesn't have an answer. He's not sure he ever will. But when Ahsoka gently takes the dagger from his unresisting fingers, he doesn't stop her. And when Obi-Wan approaches, hesitation giving way to cautious hope, Anakin doesn't push him away. They stand there, the three of them, amid the ruins of a cosmic conflict, and for a moment, something almost like peace settles over them. But the moment can't last. Reality intrudes in the form of the father, who approaches with slow, measured steps. His wounds are healing, but his expression carries a weight that seems older than his already ancient face. You have done something unprecedented, Skywalker. You have killed the embodiment of the dark side itself. The ramifications of that act will echo through the Force for generations to come. Anakin turns to face him, his expression guarded. Is that supposed to be a thank you or a condemnation? The father considers this. Both, perhaps. With my son's death, the balance of this realm has been shattered beyond repair. The darkness that he embodied doesn't simply disappear. It disperses, spreading into the galaxy like seeds carried on the wind. The Sith will feel it, the Jedi will sense it, and the Force itself will take centuries to adjust to this new configuration. You have not ended the darkness, Skywalker. You have merely released it from its container. Then what was the point? Ahsoka's voice is sharp with frustration. If killing the son just makes things worse, why did any of this have to happen? The father turns his ancient gaze on her, because the alternative was worse still. My son, allied with the Chosen One, would have brought destruction beyond imagining. The darkness would have been focused, directed, wielded as a weapon against everything that exists. Now it is scattered, diffuse, a force of nature rather than a force of will. It will cause suffering, yes, but it will not end all things. The daughter rises and approaches, her light diminished, but not extinguished. There is something else, Father. She looks at Anakin, and there's something in her gaze that makes him uncomfortable. Something knowing. The Chosen One has killed my brother, but he has not embraced the light. The darkness remains in him, unbalanced, uncontested. If he returns to the galaxy like this, he will become a focal point for the dispersed dark side energy. A new source of concentrated darkness, perhaps more dangerous than my brother ever was. Then what do you suggest? Obi-Wan's hand moves toward his lightsaber, though he doesn't draw it. That we kill him. After everything we've been through, everything we've done to try to save him. The daughter shakes her head. No. But there must be balance. The light within Anakin cannot be restored by force or persuasion, but it can be supplemented. She turns to the father, and something passes between them. You know what I'm suggesting, Father. It's the only way. The father's expression crumbles with grief. My daughter, no. I have already lost one child today. I cannot lose another. You won't lose me. The daughter's voice is gentle but firm. I will simply become something else. Something that can maintain the balance that Mortis can no longer hold. She approaches Anakin, and despite his instincts screaming at him to back away, he finds himself unable to move. What are you doing? His voice comes out harsher than he intends. Stay back. I'm offering you a gift, Chosen One. The daughter raises her hand, and light begins to gather around her. You have walked too far into darkness to find your own way back, but with my help, you might at least find the path. She reaches out and presses her palm against his chest, over his heart, and the light flows into him. Anakin gasps as the energy enters him. It's not painful, not exactly, but it's overwhelming. The light fills the hollow spaces in his soul, pushing against the darkness that has made its home there. For a moment, the two forces war within him, each trying to consume the other. But then, something strange happens. They begin to balance, not eliminate each other, not suppress or dominate, but actually balance. The darkness remains, a part of who he's become, but the light is there too now, holding it in check, preventing it from consuming everything else. The daughter begins to fade, her form becoming translucent as she transfers more and more of her essence into Anakin. The father cries out, reaching for his remaining child, but she simply smiles at him. This is what I was meant for, Father. Not to exist eternally in stasis, but to serve the balance when it needs me most. The chosen one will carry me now, and through him, the light will persist in the galaxy. It's not the ending any of us wanted, but it's an ending that might lead somewhere better. She fades completely, her physical form dissolving into motes of light that sink into Anakin's skin. He staggers, overwhelmed by the presence now sharing space within him. The daughter is gone as a separate being, but she exists within him now, her light a constant counterpoint to his darkness. He is balanced in a way he never was before, in a way no being has ever been before. The chosen one, finally living up to the prophecy, though not in the way anyone imagined. The father falls to his knees, his grief given form in tears that trace silver lines down his ancient face. My children, both of them, gone. What purpose remains for me now? Obi-Wan approaches him, compassion overriding caution. There's always purpose in continuing, in remembering those we've lost and honoring their sacrifice. The father looks up at him, and there's something broken in his gaze, but also something resolute. Yes, you're right, Jedi. My daughter gave her existence to balance the chosen one. The least I can do is ensure her sacrifice was not in vain. He rises slowly, painfully. I will remain on Mortis, what remains of it. The realm is dying without my children's presence, but I can maintain it a while longer. Long enough, perhaps, to ensure the transition doesn't tear the galaxy apart. And us? Ahsoka steps forward, her hand still resting on Anakin's arm. What happens to us? The father waves his hand, and a portal opens in the air before them. A window to normal space, to the galaxy they left behind. You must return. The events here will have consequences that play out over years, perhaps centuries. The dispersed darkness will empower the Sith, and the light that now resides in Skywalker will need to be wielded against it. The war continues, though its nature has changed. Anakin looks at the portal, then at the father. What about Palpatine? What about the Sith Lord who still thinks I serve him? The father's expression darkens. Sidious will sense what has happened here. He will know that his apprentice has been fundamentally changed. Whether he sees this as a threat or an opportunity remains to be seen. But I suspect your relationship with him is about to become significantly more complicated. Anakin nods slowly, his mind already racing through possibilities. The darkness within him churns with the thought of Palpatine, remembering the manipulation, the lies, the chains disguised as gifts. But the light is there too now, tempering the rage with something more measured. He doesn't know what he'll do when he faces the Sith Lord again, but he knows it won't be what Palpatine expects. Let's go. He turns to Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, his former master and former apprentice, who have somehow stayed by his side through all of this. We have a war to finish, and some things to renegotiate. Obi-Wan studies him for a long moment, seeing the changes that the daughter's sacrifice has wrought. The yellow still flickers in Anakin's eyes sometimes, but it's balanced now by something else. A depth that wasn't there before, a complexity that speaks of light and dark existing in equilibrium. It's not the redemption Obi-Wan hoped for, but it's something, a foundation they might be able to build on. We'll have to talk about what happened here. Obi-Wan's voice is cautious, but not cold. About what you did, what was done to you, about where we go from here. I know. Anakin meets his gaze without flinching. And we will, but not here. And not now. There's too much at stake. Ahsoka looks between them, then steps toward the portal. She turns back one last time, looking at the father with something approaching compassion. Thank you for what you and your daughter tried to do, for giving us a chance, even when it seemed hopeless. The father nods slowly, grief and acceptance mingling in his ancient eyes. Take care of him, young one. The chosen one's journey is far from over, and the balance my daughter gave her life to create is fragile. It will need to be maintained, nurtured, defended against those who would tip it one way or another. You and the other Jedi, you may be the only ones capable of ensuring her sacrifice means something. They step through the portal, leaving Mortis behind. The realm begins to collapse as soon as they're gone. The father's power no longer sufficient to maintain it without his children. But he doesn't try to escape. This was his home, his purpose, his entire existence. If it must end, he will end with it. As the last light of Mortis fades into the void, the father allows himself one final thought. Perhaps the chosen one will succeed where he failed. Perhaps balance is possible after all, even in a galaxy determined to tear itself apart. The transition through the portal is disorienting in ways that defy description. One moment they're standing on the dying landscape of Mortis, surrounded by collapsing mountains and fading stars. The next, they're floating in the familiar darkness of normal space, their ships somehow restored and waiting for them. The contrast is jarring, the mundane reality of blinking consoles and recycled air, almost shocking after the cosmic drama they've just survived. Anakin sits in the cockpit of his fighter for a long moment, not moving, barely breathing. The events of Mortis replay in his mind, like a fever dream, too vast and strange to fully process. He killed a god. He was transformed by a goddess. He faced the darkness within himself and found something that might almost be called redemption. The person who left Coruscant for that strange distress signal was not the person who returned, and he's not entirely sure what that means yet. The daughter's presence within him pulses gently, a constant reminder that he's no longer alone in his own body. She doesn't speak to him directly, doesn't impose her will or try to guide his actions, but she's there, her light a counterweight to the darkness that has been his constant companion for so long. It's strange, having another consciousness sharing space within him, but it's also oddly comforting. He's been alone for so long, even when surrounded by people who cared about him. Now, for the first time, he truly isn't alone. Obi-Wan's voice crackles through the comm, breaking the silence. Anakin, are you there? How are you feeling? The question seems almost absurdly mundane, given everything that's happened. Anakin considers his response, considers all the honest answers he could give. Terrified, overwhelmed, changed in ways I don't fully understand. But all he says is, I'm here. I'm okay. At least, I think I'm okay. We need to talk about what comes next. Yes. Obi-Wan's voice carries a weight that suggests he's equally uncertain about how to process their shared experience. We do, but perhaps not over an open comm channel. There's too much to discuss, and too many ears that might be listening. Ahsoka's voice joins the conversation, her tone carrying the forced lightness of someone trying to maintain normalcy in impossible circumstances. So, that happened. Anyone want to explain to me what that was? Because I've seen a lot of strange things in my time, but that definitely takes the prize. No one laughs, but the attempt at levity is appreciated. They need something to anchor them to reality, some reminder that they're still the same people who left on a routine mission to investigate a distress signal. The journey back to Republic space takes hours, time enough for the three of them to process what happened without the immediate pressure of crisis. They don't talk much at first, each lost in their own thoughts. But gradually, conversations begin. Ahsoka asks about the daughter, about what it felt like when she merged with Anakin. He struggles to explain it, the sensation of being suddenly complete in a way he never knew he was incomplete. The darkness is still there, he tells her. It's part of me now, maybe always was. But there's something else too, something that keeps it from taking over. Obi-Wan asks about Palpatine, about what Anakin plans to do when they return. This conversation is harder, more laden with history and hurt. Anakin tells him about the manipulation, the lies, the way the Chancellor carefully crafted his fall. He expects judgment, condemnation, the righteous anger of a Jedi confronting betrayal. But Obi-Wan just listens, his expression thoughtful rather than accusatory. When Anakin finishes, Obi-Wan simply says, "We'll figure it out together. Whatever comes next, you're not facing it alone." They arrive at Coruscant to find the war in full swing, oblivious to the cosmic drama that played out in the realm beyond space. The Jedi Temple stands as it always has, austere and imposing, a monument to an order that nearly lost Anakin to the darkness, and might have lost the galaxy as a result. They're met by council members demanding explanations for their disappearance, military commanders requesting status reports, politicians maneuvering for advantage. The mundane machinery of war grinds on, uncaring of the transformation that has occurred. Anakin faces it all with a strange sense of detachment. The concerns that used to consume him seem smaller now, less urgent. He still cares about the war, about the people fighting and dying on both sides. But the desperate need to control, to dominate, to protect through power alone, that has faded. The daughter's light within him offers a different perspective, a reminder that some things cannot be forced, only nurtured. But there's one confrontation he can't avoid. Palpatine summons him within hours of his return, the Chancellor's voice carrying the same warmth and concern it always has. "My boy, I heard you were missing. I was so worried. Please come see me. We have much to discuss." Anakin goes to the meeting alone, despite Obi-Wan's protests. This is something he needs to face himself. When he enters the Chancellor's office, he sees Palpatine as he always has, the kindly mentor, the sympathetic father figure. But he also sees something else now, the predator beneath the mask, the darkness that has been manipulating him since childhood. "Chancellor." His voice is carefully neutral. "You wanted to see me." Palpatine rises from his desk, his expression full of paternal concern. "Anakin, what happened to you? I sense something different about you. Something has changed." Anakin meets his yellow eyes with his own, which flicker between blue and gold as light and dark compete for dominance. "A lot has changed, Chancellor. I've had some revelations about the Force, about myself, about what I want my future to look like." Palpatine's expression shifts, wariness creeping into his features. "And what revelations might those be, my boy?" Anakin takes a step closer, and for the first time since he met the man, he doesn't feel the urge to bow, to defer, to seek approval. "I know what you are, Sidious. I've known for a while, but I thought I needed you. I thought your power was the only way to protect what I love." The Chancellor's mask drops completely, revealing the Sith Lord beneath. "And now, what has changed?" "Now I realize that protection built on a foundation of manipulation and lies isn't protection at all. It's just another form of slavery." The words surprise even Anakin, coming from some part of him that he doesn't fully recognize. The daughter's influence, perhaps, or simply the clarity that comes from facing impossible choices and surviving. I'm not your apprentice anymore. I'm not anyone's apprentice. Whatever happens next, I make my own choices. Palpatine's eyes narrow, and for a moment, Anakin sees the rage and calculation that have driven the Sith Lord's machinations for decades. Careful, boy. You may think you've gained some new perspective, but you don't know what you're dealing with. I have plans within plans, contingencies for every possibility. Turning against me now would be a mistake you wouldn't survive. Anakin smiles, and it's not a pleasant expression. Maybe. But here's the thing, Chancellor. I've realized something about you and your plans. You're brilliant at manipulation. No one can deny that. But you've never dealt with someone who genuinely doesn't care whether they live or die. Someone who would burn everything down just to see the look on your face. The silence stretches between them, heavy with threat and possibility. Then Palpatine laughs, though there's no humor in it. You've surprised me, Anakin. I didn't think that was possible anymore. Very well. We seem to be at an impasse. I can't control you, and you can't expose me without destroying yourself in the process. So what do you propose? Anakin considers this. He could fight. He's stronger than he's ever been, balanced in ways that might give him an edge against even a Sith Lord of Palpatine's caliber. But fighting here, now, would unleash chaos that would cost countless lives. The war would spiral out of control. The Republic would fall, but so would any chance of building something better from its ashes. A truce. The word feels strange on his tongue. For now, we both know this can't last forever. One day, we'll face each other, and one of us won't walk away. But not today. Today, we have a war to win, and a galaxy to prepare for whatever comes next. Palpatine studies him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nods, slowly. A truce, then. How very pragmatic of you. I suppose your time away has taught you some things about patience that I failed to instill. Anakin turns to leave, but pauses at the door. One more thing, Chancellor. Stay away from Padme. Stay away from my child. If I sense you moving against them, our truce ends immediately. And I promise you, I've learned some things about the Force that even you don't understand. He leaves the office, his heart pounding, but his expression calm. It's not a victory, not really. Palpatine is still out there, still plotting, still dangerous. But for the first time since his fall began, Anakin feels like he has some control over his own destiny. The daughter's light pulses within him, approving of the choice he's made. It's a start. The months that follow are complicated. Anakin returns to his role as a general in the Clone Wars, but his approach has changed. He still fights with skill and ferocity, but there's a thoughtfulness to his strategy that wasn't there before. He sees the clones as individuals now, not just resources to be spent. He questions orders that seem wasteful or cruel. He pushes back against tactical decisions that sacrifice lives unnecessarily. The other Jedi notice. The Council watches him with confusion and suspicion, unable to reconcile this measured commander with the reckless knight they knew before. Obi-Wan stays close, their bond slowly rebuilding after years of strain. They talk about what happened on Mortis, about the choices Anakin made and the ones he almost made. Obi-Wan doesn't pretend to understand everything, but he tries. And that effort, that willingness to see Anakin as something other than a failure or a threat, means more than either of them can express. Ahsoka returns too, drawn back by the changes she's witnessed. She doesn't rejoin the Jedi Order. can't bring herself to trust an institution that betrayed her so thoroughly. But she works alongside Anakin, a partner rather than a subordinate, helping him navigate the complexities of his new existence. She's the one who notices when the darkness starts to rise, when the balance threatens to tip. And she's the one who helps him find his center again, reminding him of the light even when it feels impossibly far away. Padme is the hardest reconciliation of all. When Anakin finally goes to her, finally tells her everything that happened, he expects anger, betrayal, the door closing in his face and never opening again. Instead, she cries. She holds him while he breaks down, while years of pain and fear come pouring out. And when it's over, when they've both said things they never thought they'd say aloud, she takes his hand and squeezes it tight. I don't know what the future holds. Her voice is raw but steady. I don't know if we can rebuild what we had, or if something new has to take its place. But I know I'm not giving up. Not on you, not on us, not on our child. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Anakin looks at her, at this woman who has stayed with him through impossible choices and unforgivable actions. He thinks about the darkness within him, the light that balances it, the endless struggle that will define the rest of his life. And for the first time, in longer than he can remember, he feels something that might be hope. The war continues. Palpatine plots in the shadows, biding his time, waiting for the moment to strike. The Jedi Council watches Anakin with wariness that might never fully fade. The galaxy spins on, billions of lives unaware of the cosmic drama that nearly consumed them all. But things are different now. The Chosen One has returned, balanced as the prophecy always intended, a being of light and dark in equilibrium. What that means for the future, no one knows. Anakin stands on the balcony of their apartment, watching the sun set over Coruscant. The city stretches below him, countless lives pursuing countless purposes, all of them unaware of the forces that nearly destroyed them. He feels the daughter's presence within him, a warm light that never quite fades. He feels the darkness too, coiled and patient, waiting for the moment of weakness that may never come. And he feels the Force itself, flowing through him in ways it never has before, balanced as he is balanced, stable as he is learning to be stable. Behind him, he hears Padme moving around the apartment, her presence a comfort that he never thought he'd have again. Somewhere in the temple, Obi-Wan is meditating, maintaining the connection that has survived so much. Somewhere in the city, Ahsoka is doing what she always does, helping people who have no one else to turn to. They're still here. Despite everything he's done, everything he's become, they're still here. The future is uncertain. The truce with Palpatine can't last. The Council may eventually decide he's too dangerous to tolerate. The balance within him is fragile, dependent on choices he hasn't made yet. But for the first time in years, Anakin Skywalker looks at the future without fear. Whatever comes, he'll face it, not alone, but with the people who refused to give up on him. Not as a Jedi or a Sith, but as something new, something balanced, something that might, just might, be able to bring the galaxy the peace it so desperately needs. The story continues. The war rages on. The darkness dispersed from Mortis seeps into every corner of the galaxy, empowering Sith and tempting Jedi. But in the heart of it all stands a man who has killed a god and been transformed by a goddess. A man who carries both light and dark within him, who knows the seduction of power and the price of surrender. A man who was once lost and has found, if not redemption, then at least a chance to earn it. Whatever happens next, the galaxy will never be the same. The weeks following Anakin's return to Coruscant are a delicate dance of deception and survival. Every morning he wakes beside Padme, feeling the warmth of her body against his, the gentle pulse of the new life growing within her. Every morning, he reminds himself of what he's fighting for, what he nearly destroyed in his pursuit of power. The daughter's light stirs within him at these moments, responding to the love that flows between them, reinforcing the balance that keeps the darkness at bay. But every day also brings challenges that test that balance, moments when the old hunger rises and whispers promises of simpler solutions. The Clone Wars have reached a critical phase. Separatist forces are in retreat across multiple fronts, pushed back by Republic offensives that Anakin himself helped plan. But victory brings its own complications. Worlds that were occupied now need to be rebuilt. Populations that were terrorized need to be healed. And everywhere Anakin looks, he sees the same pattern that drove him to darkness in the first place. Resources hoarded by the wealthy, while the poor starve. Justice applied selectively based on status and connection. Politicians talking about freedom, while maintaining systems of oppression that benefit them. The temptation to tear it all down, to use his power to force change, still burns within him. He's meditating in the temple gardens when Mace Windu approaches. The Jedi Master moves with his characteristic economy of motion, every step deliberate, every gesture controlled. There's wariness in his eyes as he studies Anakin, the same wariness that has been there since Anakin was a boy. But there's something else too now. Curiosity, perhaps, or recognition. Skywalker. Windu's voice is neutral, giving nothing away. The Council has been discussing your recent performance in the field. Your tactical decisions have been unexpected. Anakin doesn't open his eyes. Good unexpected or bad unexpected. Both, perhaps. Your strategies have been effective. Casualties are down across campaigns you've commanded. But the methods are unusual. You've shown restraint in situations where we expected aggression. You've prioritized civilian welfare over military objectives. Some on the Council wonder what's changed. Now Anakin opens his eyes, meeting Windu's gaze directly. Does it matter? If the results are positive, why question the approach? It matters because we don't understand it. Windu's expression doesn't change, but there's an intensity to his words that speaks of deeper concerns. You left Coruscant as one kind of Jedi and returned as another. The force around you feels different. Balanced in a way I've never sensed in anyone, even the oldest masters. I need to know what happened out there, Skywalker. I need to know if you're still someone the Order can trust. The question hangs in the air between them, heavy with implications. Anakin considers his options, the various truths he could tell, and the lies that might be safer. He's spent so long hiding from the Council, from himself, from everyone who might judge him for what he's felt and done. But something has changed in him since Mortis, something that makes concealment feel not just unnecessary, but wrong. I fell, Master Windu. The words come out before he can stop them, raw and honest in a way he hasn't been in years. Not all the way, not irretrievably, but far enough that I understood what I was becoming. I embraced the dark side, not because I was deceived or manipulated, but because I was angry and afraid, and I thought it could give me what I wanted. I killed people who didn't deserve to die. I served a master whose goals would have destroyed everything the Jedi claimed to protect. And I came within a hairbreadth of losing myself entirely. Windu's expression shifts, surprise and wariness mixing in equal measure. And now? What pulled you back? A lot of things. Anakin's voice steadies as he finds his footing in this unfamiliar territory of honest self-reflection. People who refused to give up on me, even when I gave them every reason to. A place that forced me to confront what I was becoming and choose whether to keep falling or start climbing back. And a sacrifice that I didn't deserve, that I'm still trying to understand, that somehow gave me the tools to find balance, instead of just choosing one extreme or the other. You speak of balance. Windu's eyes narrow with calculation. That's a dangerous concept, Skywalker. The dark side isn't something to be balanced with. It's corruption, pure and simple. Any attempt to find equilibrium with it leads only to deeper darkness. Anakin shakes his head slowly. That's what I was taught too. But what I experienced suggests otherwise. The dark side exists whether we acknowledge it or not. Pretending it doesn't, suppressing every emotion that might lead to it, that creates vulnerabilities that the darkness can exploit. Maybe true balance isn't about eliminating the dark, but about understanding it, controlling it, refusing to let it control you. It's a heretical statement, one that would have gotten him expelled from the Order in earlier days. But Windu doesn't immediately reject it. Instead, he seems to be genuinely considering the possibility, turning it over in his mind like an unfamiliar weapon he's trying to assess. Anakin considers his response carefully. He could tell Windu the truth, describe Mortis and the gods and the cosmic transformation he underwent. But would the Council believe him? Would they understand? More likely, they would see it as evidence of dark side corruption, another reason to distrust him. The irony isn't lost on him. He's more balanced than he's ever been, more capable of serving the light, and yet the Jedi are more suspicious of him than ever. I encountered something during my absence. He chooses his words with care, something that forced me to confront parts of myself I'd been ignoring. The experience changed my perspective on what it means to be a Jedi, on what we're supposed to be protecting, and why. I understand if the Council doesn't trust me. I haven't given them much reason to over the years. But I'm asking for a chance to prove that this change is for the better. Windu studies him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he nods slowly. The Council will be watching, Skywalker. But for now, your actions speak louder than our suspicions. Continue as you have been. Perhaps in time, understanding will follow. He turns to leave, then pauses. And Skywalker, whatever you found out there, whatever changed you, I hope you know what you're doing. The galaxy needs the chosen one, the prophecy promised. I'd hate to see that potential wasted. He walks away, leaving Anakin alone with his thoughts. The chosen one. The words echo in his mind, carrying all the weight of expectation and destiny that has defined his entire life. He used to resent that title, seeing it as another chain binding him to purposes he didn't choose. But now, balanced as he is, he begins to see it differently. The prophecy spoke of bringing balance to the Force. Perhaps that's exactly what he's doing, not through grand gestures of destruction or domination, but through the smaller choice of remaining balanced himself. The War Council that afternoon is tense. Generals and admirals gather around the holographic display, arguing over the next phase of the campaign. Some want to press the advantage, to crush the Separatists completely while they're on the defensive. Others urge caution, warning that overextension could leave vital systems vulnerable. Anakin listens to both sides, feeling the pull of strategy and counter-strategy. the seductive simplicity of military solutions to political problems. But his eyes keep drifting to the casualty reports, scrolling along the edge of the display. Each number represents a clone soldier who won't return home, a being with thoughts and feelings and hopes who has been reduced to a statistic. He thinks about how he used to see these numbers as acceptable losses in pursuit of larger goals. The shame of that perspective burns within him now, the daughter's light illuminating the callousness he once mistook for strength. We're missing something. His voice cuts through the argument, drawing all eyes to him. Every strategy we've discussed assumes the separatists will fight to the last. But look at the intelligence reports. Morale among their forces is collapsing. Planetary governments are already reaching out through back channels, looking for terms. We don't need to destroy them. We need to give them a reason to surrender. Admiral Yularen frowns at the suggestion. And how do you propose we do that, General? The separatist leadership has shown no interest in negotiation, by going over their leadership's heads. Anakin expands the display, highlighting key systems. These worlds joined the Confederacy because they felt abandoned by the Republic. Corrupt taxation, ignored petitions, resources extracted without compensation. If we offer them a better deal, real autonomy and fair treatment, many will defect without a shot being fired. The suggestion sparks heated debate. Some see it as weakness, as rewarding rebellion. Others recognize the strategic value. Obi-Wan, seated across the table, catches Anakin's eye and gives a small nod of approval. This is the kind of thinking that wins wars without destroying everything worth fighting for. In the end, a compromise is reached. Military pressure will continue, but diplomatic channels will be opened in parallel. It's not a complete victory for Anakin's approach, but it's a start. As the council disperses, he finds himself hoping that the lives saved by this strategy will be enough to balance the lives he's taken. The daughter's presence within him pulses with something that feels like encouragement. That night, Padme asks him about the meeting. They're lying together in the darkness, her head resting on his chest, his hand tracing gentle patterns across her swelling belly. He tells her about the strategy, about pushing for diplomacy, about the small victory of changing minds, without changing them at the point of a sword. I'm proud of you. Her voice is soft, but carries the weight of genuine feeling. The man I married would have pushed for the aggressive option. He would have seen surrender as weakness, compromise as failure. You've changed, Anakin, for the better. I almost lost you. The words come out before he can stop them. Before Mortis, before everything. I was becoming something I don't even recognize anymore. Something that would have destroyed us both. And the worst part is, I didn't even see it happening. Padme lifts her head, looking at him in the dim light. What stopped it? What pulled you back? He thinks about the question, about the complex answer it deserves. A lot of things. The love I still felt for you, even when the darkness tried to drown it out. Ahsoka refusing to give up on me, even when I gave her every reason to. Obi-Wan reaching out when I expected him to turn away. And something else. Something I found on Mortis that I don't fully understand yet. A balance that I never knew I was missing. She settles, back against his chest, her fingers intertwining with his. I don't need to understand it. I just need to know that you're here, that you're trying, that the man I love is fighting to come back. That's enough for now. Maybe it's enough forever. Anakin holds her close, feeling the warmth of her body, the pulse of new life between them, the light and darkness within him reaching an equilibrium that feels almost like peace. For the first time in longer than he can remember, he allows himself to believe that things might actually be okay. But peace is fragile, and the galaxy has never been kind to fragile things. The truce with Palpatine holds through weeks of careful navigation, both of them circling each other like predators who have agreed to share a hunting ground. The Chancellor continues to accumulate power, using the war as justification for emergency measures that give him increasing control over the Republic's machinery. Anakin watches and waits, gathering information, building alliances, preparing for the confrontation he knows is inevitable. He begins to reach out to other Jedi, carefully sounding them out about their concerns with the Order's direction. Many share his frustrations, though few are willing to voice them openly. The Council's orthodoxy has created a culture of conformity, where questioning doctrine is seen as the first step toward falling. Anakin sees the irony in this. By demanding perfect adherence to the light, the Jedi have made the dark side seem more attractive to anyone who doesn't fit their narrow definition of acceptable. He finds unexpected allies in this quiet campaign. Plo Koon, the Keldor Master known for his compassion, shares Anakin's concerns about how the Order treats emotional attachment. "We tell our younglings that attachment leads to suffering," he confides during a private conversation. But have we considered that the suffering might come from the suppression rather than the attachment itself? When we forbid love, we don't eliminate it. We just drive it underground, where it festers and grows twisted. Kit Fisto raises similar points about the Order's relationship with the Republic. "We have become tools of the Senate," he observes. "We execute their wars, enforce their laws, support their policies without question. When did we stop being guardians of the Force and become soldiers of the state?" These conversations give Anakin hope that change might be possible, that the Order could be reformed from within rather than destroyed from without. But they also remind him of how much work remains to be done, how deeply the problems run. His relationship with the Council remains complicated. They value his military contributions, but remain suspicious of his methods. They acknowledge his power, but question his discipline. Every interaction feels like a negotiation, a careful balancing of what to reveal and what to conceal. The irony isn't lost on him that this is exactly the kind of political maneuvering he used to despise in others. Ahsoka serves as his anchor during these difficult weeks. She's not formally part of the Order anymore, which gives her freedom to operate outside official channels. She travels to worlds affected by the war, documenting the damage, helping with reconstruction, building networks of grateful contacts who might prove useful later. When she returns to Coruscant, she shares what she's learned, providing perspective that the official reports never capture. "The people are tired, Sky Guy." She uses the old nickname deliberately, a reminder of who he used to be, who she still believes he can be. They don't care about Republic or Separatist anymore. They just want the fighting to stop, want to rebuild their lives, want to hope for something better. That's what we should be offering them. Not more war, not more destruction, but a vision of what peace could actually look like. Anakin absorbs her words, lets them settle alongside the light and darkness within him. She's right, of course. The war has always been a distraction from the real problems, a symptom of deeper illness rather than the illness itself. Even if the Republic wins decisively, the conditions that created the conflict will remain. Corruption, inequality, the concentration of power in the hands of those who wield it for their own benefit. Winning the war is the beginning of the real work, not the end. The pregnancy progresses, Padmé's belly swelling with the new life they've created together. Anakin finds himself drawn to her presence more and more, needing the reminder of what he's fighting for when the larger battles seem overwhelming. He talks to their unborn children because the healers have confirmed there are two, twins who will enter a galaxy still torn by conflict. He tells them about the Force, about the Jedi, about the history that has led to this moment. He tells them about the mistakes he's made and the lessons he's learned. And he tells them that whatever happens, whatever challenges they face, they will never be alone. Padmé listens to these conversations with tears in her eyes, seeing in them the man she fell in love with, the hero beneath the darkness, the father their children deserve. She still doesn't know everything about what happened on Mortis, about the son and the daughter, and the cosmic transformation Anakin underwent. But she knows the result, and the result is enough. Her husband is coming back to her, slowly but surely, finding his way through the darkness towards something better. The confrontation with Palpatine comes sooner than expected. The Chancellor summons Anakin to his office late one evening, the request carrying an urgency that sets Anakin's instincts on high alert. He goes armed, his lightsaber hidden but accessible, the Force gathered around him like a shield. Whatever happens in the next few hours, he intends to walk out alive. Palpatine is waiting for him in the crimson-draped office, his expression carrying none of the warmth it used to display. The mask is gone completely now, replaced by something cold and calculating. He doesn't bother with pleasantries. The war is ending. Palpatine's voice is flat, businesslike. General Grievous has been located. When he falls, the Separatist military will collapse. The Senate has already granted me emergency powers to oversee the transition to peace. Within weeks, the Republic will be more powerful than it has ever been, and there will be no more need for pretense between us. Anakin keeps his expression neutral, though his heart is racing. What pretense are you referring to, Chancellor? Palpatine's smile is thin and predatory. Come now, Anakin. We've been playing this game for months. You know what I am. I know what you've become. The question is what happens next. I had hoped to mold you into my apprentice, my eventual successor, but you've made it clear that you won't be molded. So I'm offering a different arrangement. And what arrangement would that be? A partnership, genuine this time. Palpatine rises, moving toward the window that overlooks the Coruscant skyline. The Republic is dying, Anakin. It's been dying for centuries, rotting from within, too corrupt and bloated to save itself. The Jedi see this, but lack the will to act. The Senate sees this, but lacks the power to change. Only we have both the will and the power to do what must be done. Together, we could build something new from the ashes, something stronger, more efficient, more capable of bringing true order to the galaxy. Anakin listens, feeling the pull of the argument. It's not entirely wrong. The Republic is corrupt, the Senate is ineffective. The systems that are supposed to protect people instead exploit them. Part of him, the dark part that still burns despite the daughter's balancing light, resonates with the vision Palpatine describes. A galaxy ruled by strength rather than compromise, by decisive action rather than endless debate. But he's walked that road before. He knows where it leads. What you're describing isn't partnership. Anakin's voice is steady, despite the tension thrumming through him. It's dictatorship. And dictatorships always end the same way, with the dictator becoming the very thing they claim to be saving people from. I've seen the future you're offering, Palpatine. I almost became part of it. The answer is no. Palpatine turns, and there's genuine anger in his eyes now. Fool, do you think you can stand against me? I have spent decades building to this moment. Every piece is in place. The clone army answers to me. The Senate does my bidding. The Jedi are scattered across the galaxy, weakened and vulnerable. I could crush you without breaking a sweat. Maybe. Anakin draws on the Force, feeling the light and dark respond in equal measure. But you'd have to actually do it, not just threaten it. And I think we both know how that fight would end. The change that happened on Mortis didn't just balance me. It made me stronger than I've ever been. I've already killed one god who thought he could control me. Do you really want to test whether you'd do any better? The threat hangs between them, heavy with potential violence. For a long moment, neither moves, neither speaks. Then Palpatine's expression shifts, anger giving way to something more calculating. Very well. If you won't join me willingly, I'll proceed without you. But know this, Anakin. When the new order rises, there will be no place for those who stood against it. Your Jedi, your friends, your precious family. They will all be swept away. And you will watch it happen, powerless to stop it. Anakin smiles, though there's no warmth in it. We'll see. But I think you might be surprised at how many people are tired of being told what the future has to hold. The galaxy is bigger than either of us, Palpatine, and it has a way of defying expectations. He turns and walks out of the office, feeling Palpatine's rage burning against his back, like a physical force. The confrontation is over, but the war between them has just begun. The days that follow are a blur of activity. Anakin shares what he's learned with Obi-Wan, with Ahsoka, with the other Jedi he's been cultivating as allies. The response is mixed. Some believe him immediately, having nursed their own suspicions about the Chancellor for years. Others are skeptical, unwilling to accept that such evil could have hidden at the heart of the Republic for so long. But all of them recognize the stakes. If Palpatine is truly a Sith Lord, everything they thought they knew about the war has been wrong. The Order moves carefully, gathering evidence, building the case for confrontation. They know they can't simply arrest the Chancellor. His control over the military, the Senate, the machinery of government is too complete. Any direct action would be spun as a Jedi coup, turning the people they're trying to protect into their enemies. They need proof that will speak for itself. Evidence so damning that even Palpatine's allies will have to turn against him. Anakin finds himself at the center of these efforts, his unique position giving him access that other Jedi lack. He uses his relationship with Padme to navigate the Senate, identifying allies who might be persuaded to act against Palpatine when the time comes. He uses his military connections to ensure that clone commanders are aware of the irregularities in their programming, the hidden commands that could turn them into weapons against their Jedi generals. And he uses the balance within him to sense Palpatine's moves, to anticipate and counter the Sith Lord's plans before they can fully unfold. The turning point comes when Obi-Wan captures General Grievous. The victory should mark the end of the war, the beginning of peace. But Anakin knows it's actually a trigger, the event that will push Palpatine to make his move. He gathers the Jedi he trusts, explains what he believes is coming, asks them to be ready. They're waiting when the order comes. The clone troopers receive the command to execute their Jedi generals, but the warnings Anakin planted have done their work. Some commanders refuse outright, their loyalty to their generals overriding the hidden programming. Others hesitate long enough for the Jedi to escape or disable them. The purge that Palpatine expected to eliminate the Order in a single stroke instead claims only a fraction of its intended victims. Across the galaxy, Jedi and clones who have chosen their own loyalty over programmed obedience begin to fight back. It's not a clean victory, nothing so simple as good triumphing over evil. Many Jedi fall, killed by soldiers they trusted or overwhelmed by forces too vast to resist. Many clones die too, caught between programming and conscience, unable to reconcile the conflict tearing them apart. The galaxy erupts in confusion as the war that everyone thought was ending suddenly transforms into something far more complex. On Coruscant, Anakin leads a strike team into the Senate building itself. The goal is simple: capture Palpatine and expose him as the Sith Lord who has orchestrated both sides of the conflict. The execution is anything but simple. They fight through layers of security, through soldiers loyal to the Chancellor, through traps and ambushes that demonstrate the depth of Palpatine's preparations. They find him in his private chambers, waiting for them with a calm that speaks of absolute confidence. 4 Jedi Masters fall before they can even ignite their lightsabers, Palpatine's speed and power beyond anything they expected. Only Mace Windu stands against him, purple blade flashing in patterns so complex they seem to blur reality itself. The two of them battle across the room, through the furniture, against the walls, each seeking the opening that will end the fight. Anakin arrives in time to see Windu gain the upper hand. The Jedi Master has Palpatine on the ground, lightsaber raised for the killing blow. But he hesitates, caught between the Jedi code that forbids execution of a surrendering prisoner, and the knowledge that Palpatine will never stop being dangerous as long as he lives. He's too dangerous to be left alive. Windu's voice carries the weight of terrible necessity. If we don't end him now, he'll find a way to escape, to rebuild, to threaten everything we've fought for. Palpatine, his face twisted into a mask of false vulnerability, looks at Anakin. "Please, my boy, help me. I have only tried to protect the Republic, to bring peace to a galaxy torn by war. Don't let them murder me." Time seems to slow as Anakin considers the moment. He could save Palpatine, could give in to the part of him that still craves the power the Sith Lord once offered. He could let Windu strike, could watch the man who manipulated him for years be finally destroyed. Or he could find a third path, one that neither the Jedi Code nor the Sith philosophy would predict. "Lower your weapon, Master Windu." Anakin's voice is calm, steady, utterly certain. Both of them turn to look at him in shock, but he's already moving. He crosses the space between them in an instant, his own lightsaber igniting, its blade catching Palpatine's lightning attack before it can strike Windu from behind. The discharge throws all 3 of them back, but Anakin recovers fastest. "Did you really think I didn't see that coming?" Anakin advances on Palpatine, his blade humming with balanced power. "You've been manipulating me since I was a child, using my fears and my attachments to mold me into your weapon. But I'm not that scared little boy anymore. I'm not even the angry young man who almost fell for your lies. I'm something else now, something you never anticipated." They clash, light and darkness, meeting darkness that knows only itself. Anakin fights with a style Palpatine has never seen, techniques that blend Jedi discipline with Sith aggression, power and control unified rather than opposed. The balance within him manifests as balance without, each strike perfectly measured, each defense precisely timed. He's not fighting angry, he's not fighting scared, he's fighting as himself, perhaps for the first time in his life. Palpatine throws everything he has into the battle: lightning, telekinesis, illusions drawn from the dark side's deepest wells. But Anakin meets each attack with its counter: light absorbing darkness, darkness redirecting light. the whole greater than the sum of its parts. Slowly, inevitably, the Sith Lord begins to give ground. The end comes not with a dramatic killing blow, but with exhaustion. Palpatine, his power spent, his options exhausted, finds himself on his knees with 3 lightsabers pointed at his throat. The Jedi Masters who survived the initial attack have rallied, and more are arriving every moment. The game is over. The chamber falls silent, save for the ragged breathing of the combatants and the distant sounds of battle echoing through the Senate building. Palpatine's face is a mask of disbelief, his carefully constructed plans crumbling around him like sandcastles before the tide. He looks at Anakin with something that might almost be respect, or perhaps simply the grudging acknowledgement of one predator recognizing another. How? The question emerges as barely more than a whisper, stripped of the arrogance that has defined Palpatine for as long as anyone has known him. How did you break free? The conditioning, the manipulation, the years of careful work, all of it should have made you mine completely. Anakin looks down at the man who shaped so much of his life, feeling a strange mixture of emotions. Hatred is there, yes, for all the suffering Palpatine caused, all the lives he destroyed, all the futures he stole. But there's also something unexpected, pity, perhaps, or understanding. You made a mistake, Chancellor. Several of them, actually, but one that mattered more than all the others. You thought I wanted power for its own sake. You thought I was like you, hungry for control, desperate to dominate. But that was never what drove me. I wanted power to protect the people I love. And when I finally understood that your power could never do that, that it would only consume everything I cared about, the chains you wrapped around me started to feel less like security and more like a cage. Palpatine's eyes narrow with calculation, even in defeat, searching for any angle, any leverage, any way to turn the situation to his advantage. Your loved ones are still vulnerable, Anakin. Padme, your unborn children, your former apprentice, they all exist in a galaxy full of dangers. Without my protection, without the order I was building, how will you keep them safe? The Jedi have never been able to protect their own. Why do you think they forbid attachment in the first place? The words are calculated to strike at Anakin's deepest fears, and for a moment, they almost succeed. He feels the old terror rising, the desperate need that drove him to embrace the darkness in the first place. But then, the daughter's light stirs within him, offering a different perspective. Fear is not the only response to uncertainty. Trust is also possible. Faith in the people he loves, in their strength and resilience, in the bonds that connect them. I'll protect them the way I should have, from the beginning. By being honest with them, by letting them make their own choices, by standing beside them instead of trying to control everything from the shadows. It's not a guarantee of safety, but nothing is. And I'd rather face uncertainty with the people I love than certainty alone. Mace Windu steps forward, his lightsaber still ready, but his expression carrying something that might almost be approval. The Sith Lord will be taken into custody. The Council will decide his fate. He looks at Anakin with new eyes, seeing something he didn't expect to find in the Chosen One. You've done well, Skywalker. Better than any of us had right to expect. Whatever happened to you out there, it's made you into something the Order needs, something the galaxy needs. Anakin doesn't know how to respond to the unexpected praise. He spent so long being criticized, doubted, held at arm's length by the very people who were supposed to be his family. The validation feels strange, almost uncomfortable. But it also feels earned. For the first time in his life, he's faced the darkness within himself and chosen the light, not because someone told him to, but because he understood why it mattered. The prisoners are secured, Palpatine's wrists bound with force-suppressing restraints, his powers temporarily neutralized. He goes quietly, the fight finally gone out of him, though his eyes promise that this isn't over. Men like him don't stay defeated for long. Even stripped of his political power, even imprisoned by his enemies, he'll be looking for opportunities, for weaknesses to exploit, for ways to turn defeat into victory. Anakin makes a mental note to ensure that the security around him is absolute. No chances, no assumptions, no underestimating an enemy who has played the galaxy like a holochess board for decades. You could have ruled the galaxy. Palpatine's voice is hollow, defeated. You could have had everything you ever wanted. Power, peace, the ability to protect everyone you love. And you threw it away for what? Principles? The approval of the very order that rejected you. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber, looking down at the man who shaped so much of his life. I threw it away for something better, something you never understood and never will. I threw it away for the chance to be something other than what you made me. And that's worth more than all the power in the galaxy. The aftermath is long and complicated. Palpatine is imprisoned, though the question of what to do with him generates endless debate. Some want execution, arguing that no prison can hold a Sith Lord of his power. Others argue for exile, for imprisonment, for rehabilitation that everyone knows is impossible. In the end, a compromise is reached. Palpatine will be held in a specially constructed facility designed by the Jedi themselves, monitored constantly, his Force abilities suppressed by technology, adapted from ancient designs. It's not a perfect solution, but there are no perfect solutions in a galaxy as messy as this one. The Republic begins the slow process of reforming itself. The emergency powers Palpatine accumulated are rescinded, authority returned to systems that have to learn how to govern themselves again. It's chaotic, frustrating, sometimes violent. Old grievances resurface now that the war's pressure has been lifted. New conflicts emerge as different groups compete for influence in the emerging order. But it's also hopeful, in ways that the galaxy hasn't been hopeful in generations. People can see that change is possible, that the systems that have oppressed them for so long can be challenged and transformed. Anakin takes no official role in the new government. His history, his near fall, his unconventional relationship with the Force make him a controversial figure. Instead, he serves as a bridge between factions, using his unique perspective to help navigate conflicts that would otherwise spiral out of control. He speaks to both sides of every dispute, understanding from personal experience how easy it is to see enemies where there might be allies, to choose violence when patience would serve better. The Jedi Order begins its own transformation. The rigidity that nearly destroyed it gives way to something more flexible, more willing to question its own assumptions. Young knights are taught to understand their emotions rather than suppress them, to form healthy attachments rather than fear all connection. The relationship between the Order and the Republic is redefined, moving from servants of the state to independent guardians who cooperate by choice rather than compulsion. Anakin's children are born on a spring morning when the light of Coruscant's sun seems particularly golden. Luke and Leia, twins who represent everything he nearly lost and everything he still might achieve. He holds them in his arms, feeling their presence in the Force. Two new lights in a galaxy that desperately needs illumination. He tells them silently, through the bond that connects them, that he will never stop fighting to give them a better world than the one he was born into. Padme watches him with the children, and her smile carries all the hope and fear and love that has defined their relationship since the beginning. They've survived things that would have destroyed lesser bonds. They've faced darkness and emerged together on the other side. Whatever challenges lie ahead, they'll face them the same way, hand in hand, heart to heart, refusing to let go even when letting go would be easier. Obi-Wan becomes a regular presence in their lives. The brother Anakin thought he'd lost finding his way back. They talk about the past, about the mistakes they both made, about the paths that led them to such different places before converging again. There's grief in these conversations, mourning for what could have been, but there's also healing. The wounds are deep, but they're finally beginning to close. Ahsoka comes and goes, her restless spirit carrying her across the galaxy to wherever she's needed most. She's become a symbol of something, the former Jedi who walked away from a corrupt order and returned when it proved willing to change. Young people who feel alienated from traditional institutions see themselves in her, find hope in her example. She uses that influence carefully, always pointing toward the light, without demanding that anyone follow a single path to reach it. The years pass, each one bringing new challenges and new triumphs. Anakin grows older, his hair showing streaks of gray, his face carrying the lines of experience rather than just suffering. The balance within him remains, the light and darkness coexisting in an equilibrium that has become as natural as breathing. He never stops feeling the daughter's presence, her sacrifice a constant reminder of what he almost lost and what he was given instead. Sometimes he stands on the balcony of the apartment he shares with Padme, watching the sun set over a galaxy that is slowly, painfully, imperfectly making itself better. He thinks about the boy who grew up in slavery on Tatooine, who dreamed of becoming a Jedi and saving everyone he loved. He thinks about the young man who fell to darkness, who killed and betrayed and nearly destroyed everything that mattered. And he thinks about the person he's become, scarred but not broken, fallen but risen, a vessel for light and darkness both. The chosen one. The prophecy spoke of bringing balance to the Force, and in his own way, he has. Not by destroying the dark side or championing the light, but by proving that both can exist within a single being, that the conflict between them isn't inevitable, that there's a third path for those brave enough to walk it. He doesn't know what the future holds. No one does, not really. Not even those with the power to glimpse possible tomorrows. But he knows that whatever comes, he'll face it the way he's learned to face everything. With the light of the daughter within him, the darkness he's learned to control beside it, and the love of his family around him, like armor against despair. The story of Anakin Skywalker isn't over. Maybe it never will be. Not as long as people remember what he was, what he became, what he proved was possible. But for now, standing in the fading light of a peaceful sunset, he allows himself to feel something he once thought was lost forever: hope. The training of Luke and Leia begins earlier than tradition would suggest, but Anakin has never been one for tradition. He watches them grow, these two impossible gifts, and he sees potential in them that takes his breath away. Luke has his father's recklessness, the same burning need to help everyone, to fix everything, to throw himself into danger without counting the cost. Leia has her mother's steel, the sharp political mind that can see 3 moves ahead while keeping her true intentions hidden behind a diplomat's smile. Both of them are strong in the Force, stronger perhaps than Anakin himself, and he works carefully to ensure they understand the responsibility that comes with such power. He doesn't train them as Jedi, not exactly. The old ways served their purpose, but Anakin knows from personal experience that they also created the conditions for his fall. Instead, he teaches them balance from the beginning, shows them that emotions are not enemies to be conquered, but allies to be understood. He lets them feel anger and teaches them how to channel it constructively. He lets them form attachments and shows them how love can be strength rather than weakness. He opens every door that the Jedi kept locked, trusts them with knowledge that the old order would have hidden until they were decades older. Some in the Reformed Order question his methods. They worry that he's creating something dangerous, too powerful Force users who don't subscribe to the traditional codes that have kept the galaxy in balance for millennia. Anakin listens to their concerns, considers them carefully, and then continues doing what he knows is right. The old codes didn't keep the galaxy in balance. They created the illusion of balance while darkness gathered in the shadows. His children will be better prepared than he ever was, better equipped to face whatever challenges the future holds. The galaxy continues to heal, though the scars run deep. Some worlds that suffered under the war take decades to recover. Others never fully do, their populations scattered, their cultures destroyed, their place in the galactic community forever diminished. Anakin visits many of these worlds, offering what help he can, listening to stories of loss and survival, bearing witness to suffering he feels responsible for, even though he knows that responsibility is shared across many shoulders. He encounters resistance on these journeys, people who remember what he almost became. What he did before Mortis changed everything. They call him Butcher, Monster, the shadow of the Republic's darkest days. He doesn't argue with them, doesn't try to explain or justify or minimize. He simply accepts their anger, acknowledges their right to feel it, and asks if there's anything he can do to help anyway. Sometimes they refuse, spitting at his feet and walking away. Sometimes they hesitate, their need greater than their hatred, and accept his aid with wary suspicion. Sometimes, rarely, they come to see him as something other than the demon their memories painted. These small redemptions don't erase what he did, but they suggest that the future doesn't have to be defined entirely by the past. Padmé's political career continues, though her focus shifts from galactic affairs to something more local. She becomes involved in Naboo's reconstruction efforts, using her influence to ensure that her homeworld benefits from the peace she helped create. Anakin joins her when he can, marveling at the beauty of a planet that hasn't been scarred by the war's worst excesses. He walks the shores of the lake country with her, remembering the young man who fell in love with a senator and dreamed of a life that seemed impossible. That life is possible now, he realizes. Not the way he imagined it, not without the scars and compromises and hard-won wisdom of the intervening years, but possible nonetheless. Obi-Wan takes on a new generation of students, teaching them the lessons he's learned through a lifetime of triumph and failure. He's a different teacher than he was when Anakin was his Padawan, more patient, more willing to listen, more understanding of the struggles that young Force users face. Anakin visits his classes sometimes, offering his own perspective, sharing stories of the battles they fought together. The students listen with wide eyes, unable to fully comprehend that these two legendary figures were once young and uncertain themselves. Their friendship deepens into something neither of them expected. The years of tension and misunderstanding give way to a bond that transcends the roles of master and student, brother and brother. They argue still, disagree on methods and priorities, and the best way to spend an evening off. But beneath the arguments is a foundation of trust that cannot be shaken. The knowledge that whatever happens, they will face it together. Ahsoka eventually settles on a world far from the galactic center, establishing a sanctuary for Force sensitives who don't fit the Jedi mold. She calls it the Sanctuary of the Grey, a place where the rigid categories of light and dark give way to something more nuanced. Students from across the galaxy find their way there, drawn by rumors of a teacher who understands what it means to walk between worlds. Anakin visits when he can, marveling at what his former Padawan has built, recognizing in her achievement a legacy that extends beyond anything he could have accomplished alone. The decades pass in a rhythm of ordinary days, punctuated by extraordinary moments. Luke and Leia grow into remarkable adults, each finding their own path through a galaxy that continues to need heroes. Luke becomes a wanderer, like his father once was, traveling to forgotten corners of the known space to rediscover Force traditions that the Jedi Order abandoned or suppressed. Leia follows her mother into politics, her combination of passion and pragmatism making her a force to be reckoned with in the Senate's halls. Both of them carry the legacy of their parents, the balance that Anakin learned to embody, and the compassion that Padme never lost. Anakin watches them from a distance sometimes, feeling the pride and fear that every parent knows. They'll face challenges he can't predict, make mistakes he can't prevent, suffer losses that will break their hearts. That's the nature of being alive, of being mortal, of being connected to other beings who are equally fragile and equally precious. The best he can do is prepare them, love them, and trust that when the time comes, they'll find their own way through. The daughter's presence within him never fades, though it evolves as the years pass. What was once a separate consciousness becomes something more integrated, her light woven so thoroughly into his being that he can no longer distinguish where she ends and he begins. Sometimes he thinks he catches glimpses of her in his dreams, a woman made of starlight who smiles at him with ancient wisdom and endless compassion. He thanks her in these moments for the sacrifice that saved him, for the balance that continues to sustain him, for the chance to become something other than what he was always told he had to be. Padme ages gracefully, her beauty transforming rather than diminishing as the years accumulate. They celebrate decades of marriage, each anniversary a reminder of how unlikely their story seemed when it began. A Jedi and a senator, a slave boy and a queen, two people who should never have met finding each other across the vastness of a galaxy at war. They've defied every expectation, survived every challenge, built something that neither of them could have imagined when they first caught each other's eyes in a junk shop on Tatooine. The darkness within Anakin never disappears entirely. It remains coiled in the depths of his soul, patient and hungry, waiting for moments of weakness to reassert itself. He's learned to live with it, to acknowledge its presence without surrendering to its demands. Some days are harder than others, when grief or anger or frustration threaten to upset the balance he's worked so hard to maintain. On those days, he reaches out to the light within him, to the memory of the daughter's sacrifice, to the love of the family that has never stopped believing in his ability to be better. He thinks sometimes about the alternate futures that might have been, the paths not taken, the choices that could have led to very different outcomes. In some of those futures, he knows, he fell completely, became the monster the dark side promised to make him. In others, he never fell at all, remained a Jedi pure and simple, never knew the terrible wisdom that comes from walking to the edge and stepping back. The future he's living now, the one where balance is possible and redemption is real, feels like something stolen from the fate that should have been his. He's grateful for the theft every single day. The galaxy continues to spin, civilizations rising and falling, wars beginning and ending, the eternal dance of light and dark playing out across billions of lives. Anakin knows he can't control any of it, can barely influence the smallest fraction. But he's learned that influence isn't the point. The point is to do what he can, where he can, for whoever he can. The point is to choose the light when darkness would be easier, to choose love when fear would be safer, to choose hope when despair seems more realistic. These small choices, multiplied across a lifetime, across billions of lives, are what shape the destiny of galaxies. He's an old man now, his hair white, his face weathered by decades of living. But when he reaches out to the Force, he feels the same power he's always felt, the same potential for creation and destruction, the same responsibility to use it wisely. The balance within him has held through everything the galaxy has thrown at him. He has to believe it will hold through whatever comes next. Padme is beside him as the sun sets on another day, her hand in his, as it has been for longer than either of them can easily recall. Their children and grandchildren gather nearby, a family that extends across generations, bound by blood and love, and the shared legacy of two people who refused to give up on each other. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Padme's voice is soft, reflective. From where we started to where we've ended up. Anakin squeezes her hand, feeling the familiar warmth of her presence in the Force. It's not over yet. There's still time for more adventures. She laughs, the same laugh that captured his heart all those years ago. I think I've had enough adventures for one lifetime. Thank you very much. But I suppose with you, there's never really a choice in the matter. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge as the sky darkens. Somewhere out there, Luke is exploring ancient temples on a world that hasn't been charted in millennia. Somewhere out there, Leia is negotiating the peace that will keep the galaxy stable for another generation. Somewhere out there, the Force flows through everything, connecting all living things in a web of light and shadow and everything in between. Anakin thinks about the boy he used to be, the one who looked at the stars and dreamed of being free. He's not that boy anymore, hasn't been for a very long time. But the dream remains, transformed by experience into something more complex and more precious than simple freedom. He dreamed of being free, and he found something better. He found balance. He found love. He found a way to be the man he was always meant to be, the chosen one, the prophecy promised, the vessel for light and dark that the galaxy needed even if it didn't know it. The stars shine down on a peaceful galaxy, on a family gathered in love, on an old man who fought his way out of the darkness and into something like grace. Whatever tomorrow brings, Anakin Skywalker will face it with the balance he's earned, the wisdom he's gathered, and the hope that has sustained him through everything. The training of Luke and Leia continues to be one of the great joys of Anakin's later years. He watches them grow from curious children into confident young adults, their powers developing in ways that sometimes surprise even him. Luke's connection to the Force is raw and instinctive. a torrent of energy that he learns to channel rather than contain. Leia's gifts are more subtle, but no less impressive. Her ability to sense and influence emotions, making her a natural leader, even among those much older than herself. Anakin doesn't train them as traditional Jedi. He's seen what that approach produces, the suppression and denial that created the conditions for his own fall. Instead, he teaches them to embrace the full spectrum of their emotions, to understand the darkness within themselves without surrendering to it. He shows them the balance he's achieved, not as something to imitate, but as proof that such balance is possible. Each of them will find their own equilibrium, their own way of walking between light and dark. The twins take to these lessons with the enthusiasm of youth and the aptitude of their bloodline. Luke becomes a wanderer like his father once was, drawn to the galaxy's mysteries and forgotten places. He seeks out lost Force traditions, fragments of knowledge that the Jedi Order abandoned or suppressed, piecing together an understanding of the Force that transcends the simple categories of light and dark. His journeys take him to ancient temples and hidden sanctuaries, to worlds where the Force is worshipped in forms the Republic never knew, to the edges of the known galaxy and sometimes beyond. Leia's path is different, but no less remarkable. She follows her mother into politics, but with advantages Padme never had. Her Force abilities allow her to sense deception instantly, to read the true intentions behind diplomatic smiles, to project calm and confidence even in the most volatile negotiations. She becomes one of the most effective senators the Republic has ever known, shepherding reforms that would have been impossible under the old corrupt system. Her enemies learn to fear her not for her power, but for her wisdom, her ability to see through their schemes before they can even fully form them. The reformed Jedi Order watches the twins' development with a mixture of admiration and concern. They represent something new, Force users who don't fit neatly into the categories the Order has used for millennia. Some masters see them as the future, proof that the changes the Order has undergone are producing better outcomes. Others worry that they're creating something dangerous, beings of immense power who answer to no code or tradition. The debates continue, but Anakin no longer feels the need to participate in them. His children will prove themselves through their actions, not through arguments in council chambers. Padme ages with the grace that has defined her entire life. The years add lines to her face and silver to her hair, but they don't diminish the fire that burns within her. She remains active in politics until well past the age when most would retire. Her experience and wisdom making her invaluable to a republic, still learning how to govern itself after centuries of corruption and war. When she finally steps back from public life, it's not because she's lost her passion, but because she's earned the right to rest. Their final years together are peaceful in a way that neither of them expected to find. The galaxy still has problems, still faces challenges that sometimes seem insurmountable. But it's no longer their responsibility to solve them. That burden has passed to the next generation, to Luke and Leia and all the others who will carry forward the work they began. Anakin and Padme can finally be what they always wanted to be, not heroes or leaders or symbols, just two people who love each other, growing old together, grateful for every day they have. Obi-Wan remains a constant presence in their lives until his own passing. The bond between him and Anakin, having evolved into something that transcends the old categories of master and student, brother and friend. They spend long evenings together, reminiscing about battles fought and lessons learned, about mistakes made and redemption found. Sometimes they argue, old habits dying hard. But beneath the arguments is a foundation of love that cannot be shaken. When Obi-Wan dies, peacefully in his sleep, after a long and full life, Anakin feels the loss like a physical wound, the last connection to his old life, the last person who knew him before everything changed, is gone. He sits with the body for hours, saying the goodbyes he never managed to say properly during all their years together. And then he lets go, releasing his grief into the Force, trusting that his old friend has found the peace he always deserved. Ahsoka outlives them all, her own connection to the Force seemingly extending her natural lifespan. She continues her work at the Sanctuary of the Grey, training generations of Force sensitives who don't fit the traditional molds. She tells stories of her old master to students who listen with wide eyes, unable to fully comprehend that the legendary figure she describes was also the flawed and struggling man she knew. Her teaching style is unique, blending the discipline of the Jedi with the pragmatism she learned through hard experience. Her students go on to do remarkable things throughout the galaxy, each of them carrying a piece of her wisdom forward into futures she'll never see. The legacy of Anakin Skywalker extends far beyond his bloodline. The balance he achieved becomes a template for others seeking to walk between light and dark. The philosophy he developed, refined through decades of teaching and practice, spreads through the galaxy like seeds carried on the wind. Force sensitives who never met him, who never even heard his name, find themselves drawn to the equilibrium he proved was possible. They discover their own balance, their own ways of embracing both aspects of the Force without surrendering to either. The Force itself seems changed by his journey, as if his achievement has opened new possibilities that didn't exist before. The rigid division between light and dark, the eternal conflict that has defined galactic history for millennia, begins to soften. Not everywhere, not all at once. There will always be those who embrace one extreme or the other, who see the universe in black and white and refuse to acknowledge the shades between. But for those willing to look, a middle path now exists, a way forward that doesn't require choosing sides. Luke eventually establishes a new academy, drawing on his father's teachings and his own discoveries. It's not a recreation of the old Jedi Order, but something different. A place where Force sensitives can learn without being separated from their families, where emotions are understood rather than suppressed, where the goal is wisdom rather than mere power. Students come from across the galaxy, drawn by the Academy's reputation for producing balanced, capable Force users who serve the galaxy without losing themselves in the process. Leia's political legacy proves equally enduring. The reforms she champions reshape the Republic into something more just and more stable than it's ever been. Corruption doesn't disappear, of course. Human nature doesn't change that much. But the systems she puts in place make it harder for corruption to take root, easier for abuses to be discovered and addressed. The Republic she leaves behind isn't perfect, but it's better. And better is enough. The twins have children of their own in time, and those children inherit the Skywalker legacy. Some are Force sensitive, some are not. Some follow their family's path into positions of influence and power. Others choose quieter lives. But all of them carry something of Anakin forward: the capacity for darkness and the capacity for light, the potential for destruction and the potential for creation. The balance he achieved echoes through the generations, a gift that keeps giving long after the giver is gone. When the end comes for Anakin, it comes gently. He's spent a long and full life, seen grandchildren grow to adulthood and great-grandchildren born. He's made peace with his past, accepted the darkness that will always be part of him, found joy in the light that balances it. The daughter's presence within him has become so integrated that he can no longer tell where she ends and he begins. They are one now, have been for decades, a union of mortal and divine that the galaxy has never seen before. He knows the end is approaching, can feel it in the way the Force moves around him. The balance he's maintained for so long is shifting, preparing for a transition he's always known would come. But there's no fear in the knowledge, only acceptance. He's done what he was meant to do. He's fulfilled the prophecy in his own way. Whatever comes next, he's ready. Padme is beside him at the end, as she's been beside him for more than half a century. Their hands are intertwined, her presence as warm and steady as it's always been. The children and grandchildren gather around them, their love a tangible force that fills the room. This is what he fought for, what he nearly destroyed, what he spent his life rebuilding. Family, connection, the simple miracle of people who love each other and choose to stay together. The transition is gentle, like falling asleep after a long and satisfying day. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, passes into the Force he served, but he doesn't disappear entirely. The balance he achieved persists in those he touched, in the teachings he left behind, in the very fabric of the Force itself. He is gone and yet not gone, absent and yet present, a part of everything even as he is nothing at all. The story continues, as all stories do, into a future that no one can predict. But for this moment, in this ending that is also a beginning, Anakin's journey is complete. He fell into darkness and found his way back. He was supposed to bring balance to the Force, and he did, though not in the way anyone expected. He loved and lost and loved again, made terrible mistakes, and found redemption, lived a life that will be remembered for generations to come, not as a hero without flaw or a monster without redeeming qualities, but as something more complex and more true. A man who struggled, a man who failed, a man who got back up and tried again, a man who found balance not by being perfect, but by learning from his imperfections, a man who proved that no fall is too far, no darkness too deep, no mistake too catastrophic for redemption to remain possible. The stars shine on, as they always have and always will. Somewhere in their light, Anakin Skywalker finds peace at last, and the galaxy he helped to save continues spinning, carrying his legacy forward into futures he can only imagine. It's enough. After everything, after all of it, it's finally enough. The story of Anakin Skywalker will echo through the ages, not just in the memories of those who knew him, but in the very fabric of the Force itself. He was the Chosen One, the being destined to bring balance, and against all odds, against every expectation, he fulfilled that destiny. Not through destruction, not through domination, but through the hardest path of all, through facing his own darkness, acknowledging it, and learning to live with it in harmony with the light. Generations yet unborn will tell his tale. They will speak of the boy who rose from slavery, of the knight who fell to darkness, of the man who found his way back. They will argue about what it means, what lessons can be drawn from such a complicated life. Some will see him as a warning, proof of how easily even the greatest can fall. Others will see him as an inspiration, evidence that no fall is final, no darkness complete. Both interpretations will be correct. That's the nature of truth, of stories, of the Force itself. There is no single meaning, no simple answer, no easy resolution. There is only the journey, the choices, and the courage to keep moving forward even when the path is unclear. The Force flows on, as it always has and always will. Light and dark, creation and destruction, hope and despair. All of it part of an eternal dance that began before time and will continue long after the last stars fade. And somewhere in that vast cosmic tapestry, the thread of Anakin Skywalker shines on, a reminder that balance is always possible for those willing to fight for it. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.